Moon in Virgo, people have been shedding their shift all week long. How long will this continue? Keep streaming for Namaste Today Live. Hola, amigo. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. I am Sensei Christopher Oteki, the sensei to SeriousJoy.com, here at your spiritual service week after week to bring you the planets, what's going on, and how to navigate them. We want to welcome everyone, and we are live. Hello. If you're in the super chat, say hello to us. Tell us where you're chatting from and tell us what your sign is if you want a little extra. Let's see what the signage is here this week. Also, I want to point out that we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, and Instagram. It's a pleasure to be here. Say hello. Hello, Jan. Hello, Antoinette. Ooh, that's a good name. Hello, Nadine. Erica, nice to see you. Stephanie Dawn. Okay. Experimental Elemental. Boy, I've got that down. Sydney, it's nice to see you again. We're seeing all of our favorites here. Iggy, we were just talking about you backstage, dude. Carol, nice to see you. Annie, always a pleasure. Jane, Sydney's back again. Dalai Lama, I'm loving it. Lori Ship, it wouldn't be a week without you. And Chi Organics, one of our greatest sponsors of all time here at SeriousJoy.com. So nice to see everyone. It is a intense week, basically. We have just come out of a really wonky new moon in Virgo. It felt like a new moon in Aquarius by the nature of its fallout. We're going to be talking about what's happening next. Have you come into integrity? Are you going to create a new reality? Is that even possible? And then later tonight, it's my pleasure to bring someone that has some compelling information about binaural beats. She's the author and creator of a special brainwave meditation using binaural beats. We're going to welcome Karen Newell later tonight. It's going to be a great time. There she is. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. Oh, we're back. I think we wanted the zodiac weather, didn't we? We're queuing it up here, folks. We're just going to put on some nice little binaural beat music, maybe. Got some stuff going on here. It's been a crazy day. I'm just going to fill in here while we're rolling the zodiac weather. I just got back from the hospital. My mom actually fell down again. This is the second time. She's broken the other wrist this time. And, you know, if I sound aggravated, I am. It's like there's been a lot of karma, a lot of bone breaking happening. Well, that's been a big theme that we've had. Are we cool, Adam, or do we need a fill? Oh, we're going to have some cool music. I guess we're having some issues with something loading up here. That's been the other thing, because in this last week, you know, I thought it was actually Mercury retrograde that was going on, incidentally, but a lot of the Virgo energy having to do with coming into integrity, I think is making everything that's not in integrity sort of fall apart. I know. Thank you guys for the consciousness. I appreciate that. Oh, we're doing it still, huh? I was not ready for that. Or we're just going to, okay, we're seeing up here. It's been one of those days. So even at Serious Joy, our native ship, you know, we've had issues with things not going the way we thought they were, things not going live when we thought they would go. And we're like, Mercury's direct. What's going on? Well, it's still in shadow, but I think that this energy with Virgo is intense, and it is really causing a transformation. So are we doing this manually, Adam? Okay. Well, we just won't order mom dinner on the break then. Mom will lose a little weight. All right. Tell me when you're ready. Let's crank up this old car. Keep stalling, he says. Okay. Well, I'm just going to go on to some of the talk of the week, because I know people have come here for a show to understand what's going on. So let's go ahead and dive in it. And I'll do the zodiac weather a little later while Adam's working on that. I'm just going to go straight in and improv here to the planets and transits and get into the speech of things. So we are in Virgo consciousness. And to give you a little bit of backstory as far as what this means, this is a profound moment in human history. I'm really honored to say I just had another conversation with Wendy Kennedy, who is a channel to the Palladians. And I actually had the honor of actually interviewing with another friend. We co-interviewed the Palladians about Earth's ancient history. And what's coming is, well, I have to say, it's definitely been affirmed through the Pleiadians. I mean, if you've ever seen her do her work, it's phenomenal. Because if you talk to her first, then you talk to her after, she just has all this knowledge that just comes through. It's so compelling. And what was basically being said by the Pleiadians is that right now, this time right now, as in this year, as in this next year, the Earth is finally coming to a place where it's starting to pop its head back up to where it was in Atlantis. And we were talking about Atlantis in this conversation, and talking about how basically the energy of darkness that wants to, that basically brought Atlantis down, came from another source outside of our universe, basically another alien form, and the Anunnaki, to be specific, launching from Mars. Very interesting. But what brings it to today is this particular Virgo state of awareness that we're in. It's not your average Virgo state of awareness. People have been, I don't know about you, but people are breaking bones. People are breaking down. Things are breaking down. Basically, anything that's not in integrity is getting a karate chop from the planets, basically from the universe. And what I was learning from the Pleiadians, and I was learning from the astrology, is that that's because we are at a time, in the sense of it's now time to move forward with the ascension process. So much so that she was saying that it will be forced, as far as disclosure is concerned. Like if our own governments or whoever's holding up the hold up on disclosure, it will happen anyways. We are going to ascend no matter what. And the Pleiadians were very insistent about that. They said there was not another timeline where we don't ascend. Either you're on this train or you're not. So I stand corrected. And I want to go a little deeper, but we just kind of ran out of time. My point with this Virgo is the first reality that you are crafting, the first reality that we are ever crafting, that is officially wound-free, free of certain wounds and traumas. Everyone on the earth ultimately is traumatized by the fall of Atlantis. What the Pleiadians were telling us is that, everyone who has a worry about, volcanoes, or you're worrying about losing everything, or you're worried about the stock market, or you're worried about, something going bad, or a comet hitting the earth, all these sorts of worries that we have collectively, they all stem from the fall of Atlantis. We all had ourselves rode that ride down into the ocean. And as a result, we have been traumatized, and we've been repeating this trauma and this urge to destroy what we create, because we're subconsciously triggered by the fact that we're expecting things to fall apart in any moment. So in this particular moment, this Virgo is the I become state of awareness. And it is the part of our consciousness that becomes our body, that becomes our form, that becomes our organs, that becomes our reality, that becomes our materialism. And Pisces is the I sense state of awareness. That's our soul's energy, the energy that turns into the manifestation of vibration into form, which is Virgo. And the point of this is, it's been in the last year and a half, almost 2 years, that Saturn has been in Pisces, giving us the authority to take responsibility and to end certain karmic loops in our life. And as I said a couple of times, but there's people joining us all the time. We as a species have been clearing our karma in the Pisces energy, right on the cusp of the end of the age of Pisces. And it was this year that we finally completed our karma with ourself, because Saturn had gone above step 10 and stayed above step 10 since then. Now, the thing about reality is you are the creator of reality. So one thing I learned, and I had affirmed from the Pleiadians too, was that we don't need the world to go along with what we are. The world will automatically form and shape around what we create. Therefore, if we've already cleared our own stuff, then we have the capacity to create the reality that we want to live in. So I'm going to now jump back in and do the zodiac weather. We're going to do who our sponsor is, and we'll pick it up from this point with planets and transits. Let's roll. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, September 7th to Friday, September 13th, 2024. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, after a bumpy road in the Virgo consciousness, I'm glad to report that things will smooth out and will be a relaxing weekend. On Saturday, it's sunny and feeling rather safe. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. It's a creative resting and receiving day. Time to soak in that rest, that nutrition, and that sun. The sun, though, is opposing Saturn, so through the course of the day, you may go back and forth about what your highest spiritual purpose is. It's time to become relaxed and realize there's a power shift in your life. And with the moon in Scorpio, you're feeling safe. On Sunday, it's sunny and honest. Step 16 means Neptune rules the day. This Neptune rule day means that this is a balanced day. You have the Spirit and you have the Virgo both. I become faithful is the net result, and you are refining how you feel about certain things, and that moon in Scorpio sure does help. Now looking ahead at the 5-day week forecast, looking at the arc of the week, you commit, you take action, and you manifest a new reality. That means that your daily lifestyle will probably change, and it's most likely for the better. On Monday, it's sunny and sensual. Step 17 means Saturn rules the day. This will be a bit of a serious day. That's why I become boss. You're actually raising the vibration of love inside yourself. And with Mercury entering the Virgo, you're starting to get focused on the details about yourself. Emotions do shift during the day. It starts off a bit closed with the moon in Scorpio, but then things open up and get optimistic as the moon moves into Sag. And then on Tuesday, we predict sunny and delightful. Step 18 means Mars is ruling the day, so you are charging ahead to get things done and to implement that new reality. You are becoming very animated, and it's time to love yourself in a mindful way, otherwise you may feel a little lost. And with the moon in Sagittarius, your emotions are processing the next chapter in your story. And then on Wednesday, hump day, it's cloudy and tense. Step 19 means that Earth rules the day, so you are becoming a little uncomfortable as you manifest this new reality. Venus will sextile Mars, which means divine feminine and divine masculine will be talking and on both sides, and emotions will shift to Sirius as the moon crosses the galactic center and shifts into Sirius Capricorn. On Thursday, it's cloudy and sticky. Step 20 means the moon rules the day, and thank God it's the moon's in Capricorn, placing a kibosh on any ridiculous passion, but it also means you might be feeling a little squeezed in. It's time to become shifted. You're going to the higher dimensions of I become. And it's also time to get on the side of your heart if you're not feeling really good. The sun, however, will square Jupiter on this day, which means you may have to have a little argument between what your heart wants and what your mind wants, and you should know by now, the winner must be the heart. And then on Friday, it's sunny and confident. Step 21 means it's starting to get fun. Jupiter rules the day, so you are expanding your options for what's possible when it comes to the future and feeling expanded. You're also opening to new ideas. And with the moon in the late stages of Capricorn, about to cross Pluto, you're feeling that these commitments may be a major change of power.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
If you're watching on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, please like this video so it'll spread like fire across YouTube. Serious Joy and this wonderful Namaste Today Live is sponsored by SeriousJoy.com and our daily download. If you don't know, we are now catering to everyone in the public. This is in front of you, Heather Exposito. She's an astrologer, has been training under us for about 3 years now. She's an expert in the step system, and she's an expert at keeping it simple. So if you go to our homepage for free, you can always see what the zodiac weather is right now, what the step number is right now, and you can play a daily download, which is about a 3-minute clip that will give you the forecast every day. We believe at Serious Joy that the step system is the most powerful and accurate system in astrology there is. Why would you go anywhere else when you have this precision with what we offer? So give it a try. Come on down to SeriousJoy.com and try the daily download. Let me know what you think of it, and I'll catch you here next week when you see that you are now hooked. She's amazing. And if you want even more, well, $3.99, you can be in the subscription service, and you can get a 25-minute pep talk by yours truly every day. I do 7 pep talks a week. No, that's not true. I do 5. And Robbie Hunt comes in for the other 2. All right. Without further ado, let's try this again. It's time for our planets and transits. So where were we? This is, you know what? Actually, I'm glad you just saw this, because this is what life has been for the entire, since the new moon. That new moon, let's go back to Monday, was at step 11 new moon in Virgo. Now, if you're not familiar with this, with step astrology, step 11 is I love myself some more. Step 11 is the final step of reality. At 11, you show up as the one, and then reality then creates a law of attraction of the one. It is a law of attraction in action, step 11. And from when I guess I'm going to talk about Wendy all night, the Palladians said that the earthlings have the most powerful manifestation in all of the species out there in the universe. So this is a big deal. We came here to be able to do these types of things. The other aspect about step 11 is that it has this commandment. The commandment is that the one must attract the one. Now, that means that the inner world of love and the outer world of love must match, okay? We do not belong with something that is not our vibration, but yet we force ourselves into these vibrations. We force ourselves into having, the 2.5 kids in the yard and the little picket fence, or we force ourselves into having the master's degree when we really don't want to do it and we really don't want to pay for it or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm just saying quite often we have created a reality that is based on pleasing other people in reality. It hasn't been based on pleasing ourselves. We've worked to just get along with the Joneses. We've worked to ultimately, do what everyone else is doing. And we've created a status and we've created a net worth of our value outside of ourselves. So this is where we have been a little poisoned. We've come way off the mark as far as how reality works. And so many people are not living their truth. They're not living their authenticity. And if you're wondering what your authenticity is, it's not in your mind. It's not even your emotions, because they can be toxic too. It's right here. Your authenticity is in your heart. This is your modem to God universe. This is the I love and the I love some more. It is from the heart. So again, going back to that new moon, a new moon at step 11 Virgo ultimately put a blast of heart, the sun, and emotion, the moon. So the heart moon, the emotions and the heart come together. Step 1 and step 2 come together and force this vibration of 11, which basically was, get your shift together, like make everything line up. Everything needs to line up. Everything needs to be a reflection of who we are at our core. And so what has happened is I have been seeing, and all over the place, things that are not in alignment with one's heart are causing different breakdowns. I'm talking about relationship stories. I heard that people are having hard times and breakups. Again, bones being broken, very big deal. I just pre-interviewed someone you're going to see later this year because of our time difference. She's in Australia. She's an astrological medical intuitive, which is totally cool. You guys are going to love this interview. But what she was ultimately saying is that our heart, that we have to live in our heart, or we start to break down as far as our body and disease, that the body starts to take on all this corrupt energy or absorb all this corrupt energy without having the heart being the predominant force. If you're not working through a field of love on earth, then basically you are starting to decay. A lot of our decay, I think, is a lack of love and a lack of love in our heart. So as we move through this week that we just lived, Tuesday was step 11, Wednesday was step 12, and it was Thursday that mom broke her foot. Actually, it was today, Yeah, it was today. But it was the 13 energy that stretched in today. That 13 energy basically said on between Wednesday afternoon and half of Thursday, so hopefully we're close to 14 right now. That 13 said, okay, now after you guys have come into your alignment, it's time to follow what your heart, step 1, believes, step 3. And what your heart believes is where you belong, net 4. Now, you don't have to know the step system to know this. If you are not living the life you belong, there was a whammy of energy that sort of started to roll over the planet as of yesterday. And it was causing a lot of breakdowns, a lot of broken feet, a lot of different types of things like that. And so first, the universe was bringing out people who are not living in their authenticity. Now we're starting to see people brought down who are not living authentically in their life. And we're seeing things fall apart all over the place. Now, another factor that I think is adding to things is we have this another interesting thing that happened actually over the weekend. I think adding to the energy was one, on Sunday, Uranus retrograded. Happens every year, retrogrades directs. But Uranus was at step 27. It still is. It's going to go to 26 this week, which means that we were basically on this force of go, go, go. Let's grow is a better way to say it. It was all grow. And we had this force behind us to grow, to do more, to make it higher for less energy. With Uranus retrograding, we suddenly lost that push. So I don't know if you guys are in the chat and want to talk about it, but I had a horrible time sleeping. I had a difficult time. I had horrible time sleeping. And then after that, I was extremely tired. And I didn't know if it was Uranus that had deflated or if it was, any of the other things like the new moon. But what it does is you have Uranus come down. So Uranus is going to hold you up anymore. Then you have this new moon that goes, make it so. Actually, there's one step before that. Let's roll back, okay? I'm still getting centered from everything I've gone through today. It's been crazy. I barely made it on the air. After Uranus went retrograde on Sunday, we had what we call Pluto strikes back. Pluto has moved back into step 29 Capricorn. Well, it will reside until November 19th. And Pluto 29 so far, from what I've seen, well, there's a lot of theories about it. We're only about 4 days in. But it ultimately is demanding. So 29, Pluto at 29 adds to an 11. So 29 is the high 11 and Virgo is the grandmaster low 11. So it's from 29 to 11. And so we had these two 11s that sort of created this energy. One, Pluto in Capricorn commanding an 11 at the top. Secondly, a new moon in Virgo commanding an 11 at the bottom of the consciousness at the individual. And so what you have is this force of at the top and at the bottom, you better get your shift together energetically. And we are now experiencing that wave. So with Pluto at 29, I'm seeing a lot of things so far. I'm already seeing things close down. I've already heard of things closing down, like in business and stuff. Bankruptcy fell apart, died on the 29. I've seen people like mom, fall down and hurt themselves. I heard a couple other stories of things falling apart. But I've also, in my own personal life, have felt like although have been tested. Let's do two things. One is that there's been tests. So tests of being able to keep things going. Now, I'm just going to share openly that, back in the day when I was the only person running Serious Joy, I mean, there was three people, my son, my partner, and me. That's it. That's it for 7 years, pretty much. We brought on Noelle. She was wonderful. She was the first person who did stuff behind the scenes, but Noelle was checking all of our mistakes. We were the ones making them. But my point was, I lived this life back then when Pluto was in Capricorn, where I was just a factory. It's just go, go, go. Like there was no downtime. There was no time between things. And I swore I would never live that way again. I swore I could not put myself ever in that situation again. Well, I fell in it this week again. Like in the last week, I had so much stuff come at me and from so many directions, so many things falling apart, so many fires, so many extra things that I don't normally do. Things started falling out as far as my ability to deliver. I'm a guy that delivers. And here I found myself in the same freaking energy and feeling that I had felt basically with Pluto moving through my sixth house for about 10 years. This is constant. I don't want to say rat race because I'm not a rat, but this is constant on the go kind of thing. So I've already known. Fortunately, I thought to myself, okay, this is the final test. I was saying it to everyone. You can be tested on anything you have learned in the last 15 years. And it begs the question, why am I doing it? Well, I'll share with you some more. There came a point, and that was about a day ago, where I was working on something for Serious Joy until 5 a.m. I had to be up at 8. So I got 3 hours of sleep. And I had this moment where part of me wanted to collapse and just be like, fuck it, like kind of thing, right? And then this other part of me listened to my own advice, basically, which comes from another side anyway. So it's not mine. I'm just the messenger. But I listened to my own advice, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to get mad at the fact that this is an impossible task, that my organization is all upset because I'm causing, everyone's waiting on me. So we got staff that's just waiting for me to get things done because I'm the only one that can do certain things. And I was really falling into old stuff where I was feeling shameful and feeling not good enough and less than. And I caught myself and I realized, oh my God, here's the test. This is the test right here. The test isn't that I have all this old life coming back to me and repeating again. The test is, now that it's back, will I behave the certain way I've always behaved, the same way, right? And the old ways to behave was try harder. So I would like rev the boat up even faster if I, was finding myself slipping down the wall of, being able to do things. I didn't take that path. Instead, I decided to coach myself through it by just reassuring myself that this is the astrology, that this is a test, only a test of the spiritual, universe broadcast system. And over time, like about an hour and a half, I suddenly I came through that feeling of like I'm failing again. It's all happening again, and I turned it around to no, actually, mofo, I'm not. Like I turned it around and made it a feeling of I will survive, Irene Cara, you know what I mean? And moved into I love myself some more, and delivered what I had to do that day. Now, that's a little tiny example, and it all happened, right here at this desk, at 4 a.m. But I now have this other feeling about myself where I suddenly feel a bit stronger. Now, just so you know, tests keep coming. All right. So going back to where we are with Virgo in this week, as we come into our integrity and we start off this week, we've lost the power of Uranus, which means God's taken away the training wheels, taken away the super blaster that would ultimately allow you to, do something cool and, and, and with the Uranus energy, the universe is taking away the power pellets. The universe is taking away, the energy of innovation. So you've got to come up with your own solutions. You've got to come up with your own innovations. Also, it's also known as the energy of efficiency, Uranus. So I've been damn inefficient since Uranus went retrograde, in the sense of like just getting things done half, twice, almost taking half 50% more time to do things, finding myself sort of wandering around. I didn't realize what a Uranus junkie I was. Of course, I have Uranus in the third house, so it really is, pretty much a, let's say a booster to me. So we go off in this week with the step 11 without that energy. We go off this week with Pluto at 29 degrees, spinning, sort of pulling up all of your leadership stuff, pulling up all the things you've learned in the last 15 years. And as we do that, okay, the sun now moves through the higher degrees as we go through the week. In fact, let's just go through the week. First of all, the theme of this week is realizing a new reality. Realizing a new reality. As you begin to break through the barriers and membranes of the old way, which was me, what the story I just gave you, the old way was, I slip behind. I start to go, I work my butt off. There's another chapter of that. And then I get sick and I collapse because I pushed it so hard, like a marathon race. So the old way came up, right? This, as we go through that, you make another choice. You decide to respond differently to this old sort of calling. Then we begin to realize a new reality. And that's what I have been doing in the last couple, like really 48 hours. 24 hours. That day I'm talking about was Wednesday night to Thursday, I think. So it's only been 2 days. And when I say realizing a new reality, it's sort of interesting because nothing changes, but everything changes. Suddenly, you just feel different about where you live. You just feel different about driving your car. I've just been feeling different. Have you ever had a moment where you feel like a stranger in your own life? Like I used to have these like feelings of like, I don't feel I belong here. Nothing feels comfortable. Nothing feels normal. You go kind of vibration. That's what I felt in about 24 hours after breaking through, my personal self-empowerment barrier. The world has begun to feel really different and look different. And I don't feel like I belong energetically in this particular place. Now, it's been hard to motivate myself, actually, because I'm used to climbing that ladder, and now that ladder's not here to climb. So I will say that is a weird thing. Now, that said, the subplot of this week is passion about the future, being passionate about the future. As you break through, is what I'm noticing, I found that already my passion has begun to rise. I'll talk about that when we look at the planets. But you realize as you snap away from the old reality that you have been waiting this whole time for the new reality. And that new reality starts to get you excited. Like, you mean I'm actually going to be happy? I'm actually going to have what I want? And this passion is going to lead to a change in direction this week. I'll talk about it when the sun squares Jupiter this Thursday, exactly 1 week from the point I was just describing. Now, the key question of the week is, what does my soul say? What does my soul say? And I say that because as we move through these degrees of Virgo, we have 12, 7. Let's go through it. Tomorrow's 15, so we accept 16 on Sunday, 17 on Monday. Okay, 17 on Monday, you have to commit to the new reality. And in that moment, the key question is, what does my soul say? What does my spirit say? Let's bring it down to a more practical level. Let's say that you have the opportunity to move into a new place, and it would be a new reality for you. It'd be awesome. And this new place, let's say, is a bit more expensive than you normally pay, isn't everything these days? But also it is like on the lake, exactly what you want, with a porch, the swings in the tree, the whole 9 yards. It's like nature in a box, and it's just really 20 minutes from Starbucks. So it's absolutely perfect. You have the best of all worlds. The only problem is it's not very affordable. It's going to take a big chunk out of your salary, let's say, or out of your earnings. So this is where you say, what does my soul say? Now, your mind is not qualified to answer that question because your mind is programmed to the old you. And so if the old you was struggle, then the struggle part of you is going to say, no, I can't do it. I'm just going to have to sacrifice. I'm just going to have to wait one day until I have that. And your mind might also say, well, we have the money. I can do it. Like it's just going to take a little bit out of savings. We're going to be a little more vulnerable than we are, not have as much in the nest egg. And in that moment is what I'm saying. Those moments where what you want seems impossible or expensive or behind a wall, like a pale wall, or, involving a lot of investment, or maybe involving being uncomfortable. Or the point is like right now, although life is miserable, it's comfortable. We're used to that misery, are we not? Right? And so when we see the alternative in Virgo, because we see reality in Virgo, no details are unturned. Virgo's the best time to go buy a car because you'll see every scratch in the car when you go buy it. So when you look at the future of where life can go, you're going to see just a complication of what appears to be impossible, perhaps. And because Virgo is just so solid. So this week, I firmly believe that you have to divert to your soul. And if you don't know how to divert to your soul, if you're not a spiritual person on a daily basis, it's the part of you that senses. That's it. Do you have a sense it'll be all right? So I would say to that person came to me as sensei and said, I don't know. I've always wanted the log cabin, but it's a bit more expensive. It's the perfect house, but it's going to be a risk. What if this happens? What if COVID comes back? What if that happens? All these Virgo, that's Virgo consciousness, always aware of what could go wrong, what could break, what could be out of integrity. So we can't help but see, all of the flaws, if you will, and the imperfections, everything we do in that moment. And I believe you're going to have that choice next Monday is why I'm putting this all out there. You're going to have this choice, and that choice will probably involve one direction that 5 years ago you'd never have the courage to try. You would never have maybe the finances to try. So it's a brand new reality. It's something you never had. Or you can continue on the safe path, the one that is known. All right. And so in that moment, your mind is not going to help you. What's going to help you are two states of awareness. One, does your heart want it? Well, yes. In that example, as I gave you, that person I just made up, yes, he wants to be on the lake. He knows he wants it. He knows his heart wants it. But should I? Will I be punished? Will the universe work against me? Will something fall apart unexpected that I didn't anticipate at the time? And this thing's going through my mind. Like, oh, in the past, I thought it'd be okay. And in the past, I thought this would happen in the past. And the truth is, in the past, I still had spiritual grenades in my subconscious waiting to go off. And so it wasn't that I have failed at things in the past. It's that the things of the past were actually little mini versions of my past lives. I thought it was the new life. It was the past life. And I had to clear the energy, just like I said that other night with 29 and up through the night working on stuff. I had to clear that energy. I had to clear the energy of me failing in order to go forward. The point is if you've been doing that clearing of that fear and that apprehension and healing from those situations where you failed, and you had to fail and then clear it to be able to clear it, you can't just clear energy when you don't know it's there. So all the failure and stuff was based on representing your spiritual wounds for an opportunity to respond differently. Again, back to Monday, that is going to be 17. What your heart, what your heart and your intuition have to say. That's where the key question of the week comes from. What does the 7, my soul, have to say? Were you born for something great? Yes, I was, but no buts. If you're born for something great, that log cabin is great, is it not? You know you're born for something great. Aren't you looking at it right now? But, so there's this moment where the ascension, I think, of this particular week is that you have to ascend above the facts, above the history, above what other people say, above what your grandma says, above what the FDA says, all these outer authorities. Really, you have to make a choice based on only one authority, and that's your inner authority. Your heart, which already knows it wants a log cabin on the lake, and the real deciding vote is what you sense. Do you sense it will be okay? Do you sense there'll be no problem? And quite often, even when I play this game, I mean, I literally will ask spirit, am I okay? I'm going out tonight. People could be drinking and driving. Will I be all right? Do I sense things will be fine? Do I sense things? And a lot of times when I'm sensing stuff, my sensory perception is, we're good. Everything's good. The answer comes really quick. And my mind's like, oh no, there has to be some lingering danger or some sort of problem that's going to ruin my life. Now that's the Atlantis wound coming up, right? In a big way, in a creative way. And my sensory perception is like, nope, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I'll be like, is this thing on? Is it working? Are we really getting a real read? I still don't actually trust the eye sensory perception usually. I found that now I'm actually I have had a similar choice actually. I've had a similar fork in the road actually just today. I'm not going to share with what it is, but I think I'm going to have to go with what I'm sensing. And a lot of people aren't going to like it. And that's the one thing I want to pass on. I'm seeing a lot of relationships coming to a close. And I don't mean that in a bitter, dark way. I mean that a lot of people have been talking about how that they have certain people in their life that they just simply don't no longer have anything in common with. It's just not working anymore. Now, the astrology tells you why that is. We'll go into it. It's the South Node in Libra. I've had people also saying to me, which is interesting, saying to me, this isn't Christopher. This isn't the Christopher I know. And at first I fall into a guilt, like, well, why have I let you down? Have I not been my codependent person that that wants to be there for you? Like, what's the problem? But in that moment I realized, oh, I'm not the same person that I was, because the person that I was would go along with something that my heart didn't want. I would go along with it to make other people happy. I would go along with it to make the status quo happy. And I was such an empath. I didn't want to feel, part of it was, it wasn't really even for them. It's that if I disappointed people, I would live in this disharmony, this misery inside myself. And so I would begrudgingly go along just because what I put myself through, during the process and after, if I stepped away and did what I wanted, the guilt I would feel, all the stuff I would put myself through, they didn't even know I was feeling horrible for saying I can't go out tonight. It was so horrible. It was much better to just go ahead and give everybody what they wanted than it was for me to face that side of myself. That side of myself turned out to be my past life guilt. It wasn't that I was really feeling guilty this life. I was feeling guilty for the lives I had lived, and I was projecting it onto that situation. And so there were a couple of times in the last week or so where I have said, man, I know they're going to be upset. I know they're going to say I've changed. I know they're going to say I'm not good enough, or I've never been. Like, this is obviously family stuff if you can't figure it out. But I'm just going to, for once, I'm just going to go ahead and be the ass and be who I am, and accept the fact that people may spend the rest of their life saying he's not what he seems to be. He's not, I don't care anymore, ultimately. And I finally have broken through that. So my point is that my soul told me the way I need to go the whole time. I've known it the whole time, and I've known the consequences it's going to cause. And I can say in a couple of cases, people actually were not upset with what I was deciding to do. And in other cases that they give me grief. So what does my soul say? It's very important this week to be aware of what your soul says. All right, let's do the planets. We're running late. We're not running late. I don't know. Starting with Virgo. If we got those hands, there he is. Oh, hi, Virgo. The sun this week goes from step 14 to step 21, We're at 14 right now. 14 is where my heart belongs. Heart belongs. Where does my heart belong? Right? And we're being mindful of it. And actually, it was today that I was affirmed where my heart belongs. I was like, yep, that's where my heart is. That's where it is. No doubt about it. So where your heart belongs forges the idea, right? The attitude focuses where you believe you're supposed to go. So it calibrates the mind according to where our heart belongs. By the way, notice 14 is a grandmaster Mercury because it adds to a 5. So what this says is, if you have a thought about, let's say, if you have a thought about, I'm going to buy, I'm going to go down and buy myself an ice cream cone. And it's like, and you have two choices, the sugar-free ice cream cone and the yummy sugary ice cream cone that you've always loved. Where does your heart belong? Your heart belongs with the yummy sugary. But then your mind also says, well, it's full of sugar. It's it's like processed. It's this conspiracy from the Rockefellers to rock your teeth, all this stuff. Your mind goes down that side. But if you go against where your heart belongs, see, that is not in integrity. Eventually, it's going to be the sugar-free one that kills you, which is pretty true. So what this tells you, and I just want to point out because Spirit's telling me to hammer this for everyone, if your mind doesn't ask, where does my heart belong? That's a shallow thought you're having. Shallow. It's a shallow thought. It might as well be graffiti that you painted on the wall because you didn't back that thought up with what your heart belongs with. You just thought, almost like passing gas in an intellectual form. Ideas are just like gas. It's just coming off of everyone. Animals, trees, everyone has ideas. What makes them important? Your heart belongs there. So tonight, before you go to sleep, ask yourself, where's my heart belong? Because the mind is very pervasive. It still controls most of our states of awareness. If your mind isn't clear and behind the side of the heart, there's no way you're going to end up with what your heart wants. And that is probably 70% of my readings I do with clients is I'm just trying to talk to them, show them how their own mind is betraying them. Now, speaking of betraying mind, there's one right there, Mercury. And I must have forgotten to put the degrees in there because they're not there. What do we do with Mercury this week? Boop, boop, boop. Oh, yeah, we didn't. Mercury actually starts at 26 degrees Leo, okay? And then we'll move into Virgo to 0 to 7 right here, okay? So starting today, you are committing, step 26, to what your heart really wants. So in this next 24 hours, you're going to commit step 26 to what your heart wants. Isn't it interesting that you commit to what your heart wants right when the mind is forced to go where your heart belongs? So the universe is always trying to bring you into integrity. It's our free will, our arrogance, our selfishness, our greed that pull us out of that. From that thinking, okay, I think this is the way to go. Then we go on to Saturday, where it's now we open up, not the next planets, we're still in the sun. Thanks. We go on to Saturday where we are mindful of our heart. So we accept this, like my heart belongs. I think my heart belongs going into model railroads for a living. Yep, that's right. I want to make that's what my heart wants. And the mind's like, no, are you kidding? We can't make a life out of that. Who's going to make a living out of that? Right. So the point is you work through that argument and you go, nope, my heart belongs with the model railroad train. That's going to be me. I'm going to be one of those kooks with the whole garage with just trains running around all the time. That's my retirement. Saturday, you go, does my heart feel that this is really true? Really? Because this is just an exploration of my mind. Does my heart feel this is true? So on Saturday, you ratify with your heart. Sunday, you ask, does my soul feel this is true? What does my soul say? So what does my soul say ultimately is happening on Sunday, okay, of this week. So you go, what does my soul say? Monday, we get to step 17, and that's where you have to make an absolute choice, okay? You have to choose and decide that you're going to take your reality this way. Now, the term reality, by the way, is basically the circus or shift show you call your life. My reality today was nuts. It was just with issues and things coming in and phone calls and like got to run the mom fall down. I got to run the hospital and blah, blah. It was just absolutely crazy. So all the things that you're doing in a day is your reality. The question is going to be, what reality do I want to choose going forward? That's on Monday. On Tuesday, we take action and we put that reality into motion. So in essence, if you want to be part of this metaphysics and this magic, you need to take action on Tuesday. And because it's Virgo, it cannot be anything symbolic. So Jo Zammit is our ceremony. She does ceremony stuff for us on the eclipse, on the moons, full moon and new moon. She's a Virgo. She's very good about practical. She gives us a lot of great ceremony ideas. And Joe, I love you, but this time they've got to do your ceremony and something else. You've got to do something in reality. That means you hire somebody, you fire somebody, you purchase something, you sign a contract, you make it so. And I have found the more real you are in Virgo, the more powerfully and quickly the issue manifests. So Tuesday, you take action. Wednesday, is step 19. You then continue to act on Wednesday. So, and I teach this at Serious Joy, really manifestation is 18, 19, 20. So 18, 19, 20, and even 20, you have to get to 21 to get to the master level. 21 is the master level. 20 is the master level, but you can follow the sky with 20 as the master level if you're not careful. So you keep going and you keep going like the little engine that could. And then you get to step 20 on Thursday. Okay, we're getting in the 20s. 20 is when things go abundant. 20 is when your feelings and passions start to pass you by. This is where I get passionate about the future. Come Thursday, you're going to get very passionate. Oh, I have to tell you guys some things also. I'll tell you in a minute. And then on that Thursday, if your feelings and your passion are all pointing in the right direction, all right, and moving forward, and step 20, you protect that passion, what's going to happen is Jupiter's going to square at 20 degrees very early in the morning on Thursday the 12th at step 20, and square Jupiter at 20, which means that Jupiter in Gemini, which is expanding our mind, right? Remember all the examples I gave you? It's like, I want to do this, and your mind talks you out of it. I want to do that, and your mind tells you about the last time it happened. Right now, our mind is the biggest thing against us right now. It is talking us out of things. It is considering things it shouldn't. We really are not to be driving by the mind. But Jupiter at 20 is just beginning to open up our thoughts about the future. And so come Thursday, there's this collision where you may find that by Friday at step 21, or even later Thursday, it turns to step 21 in the middle of the day, you may find that the arc of your story has suddenly a major change, a turn. There's a corner that you turn. The corner that you turn may be that you were on the wrong until then. So for those people who are out of their heart, out of their integrity, not creating a reality based on what their heart wants, creating a reality based on what the world tells them to be, what their credit rating tells them to be, what their government tells them to be. If you're caught in that, there is one more thing that may save you, which is this square on Thursday. If God's, the square on Thursday will knock you off your center if you're going the wrong way, and try to like push you into the right direction. So I am predicting that Thursday morning into Friday, a lot of people will be derailed. Okay. That derailing is going to be a blessing if that happens. That means that they were heading in the wrong direction and the universe checked them and put them back in the right direction. They basically were working against the forces of the zodiac or of the energy. So Thursday to Friday is a real trying day. If you find yourself still on your bike come Friday, yay, you've made it. And now you have elevated yourself towards a new future. So ultimately this week alone determines, in sort of a grit determination, whether or not you're going to create that new timeline or not, whether or not you're going to tear away from the old timeline represented by Pisces, and whether or not you're going to be able to protect yourself from being dissuaded by the people that say you're not the same person you used to be. Why aren't you revolving your life around us? Why aren't you, giving all of your attention to me and proving to me that you're worthy? And so we're starting to see this split. Now, this is what I'm going to tell you. We can move on to the next slide, actually, if we can. I'll bring into this. Okay. So in Leo, this is where Mercury's in Leo. I was talking about it right now. Mercury in Leo today is at step 26. And tomorrow, the day where you accept the program, okay, which is step 15, Mercury goes to step 27. So what's the big deal with that? Well, 27 is the galactic center. So come tomorrow, your mind is like one with the galactic center, which means God universe is going to be like beaming what your intention of life is right down to the planet. So you're going to pick out what life is about. You're going to be picking up on what your soul promise was to the universe. You're going to know what you promised. And you're going to know that you either are on the page of that promise or you're not on the page of that promise. Now, let me give you real quickly where people deceive themselves. This is something I've realized. I used to deceive myself by saying, I'm on the page of my promise. One day I will get there. What I realized was, you have to be on the path today. What if I don't have the money? Still got to be on the path today. What if I don't have the resources or the context? You still have to be making it today. So there is no more tomorrow in the new era. There's only today, and tomorrow becomes only today. If you are letting your mind say to yourself, oh, we'll catch the next transit. Sensei says it's going to be every year you go through, Virgo, that this is possible. Let's do it that way. 1 second. I have to actually let Apple scan my face to buy mom dinner. There we go. That's multitasking. And it's on its way. So in essence, it's very easy for you to play a mind game where you say to yourself, hey, I'll do another day. I've still got time. One day it'll happen. Sure. Let's give it a try. That sort of thing. One day. But now I'm just going to go ahead and take the easy path. What the astrology is saying is, no, that was your opportunity right there. And sometimes we have only one opportunity to exit the highway. All right. Sometimes you only get one chance to do something like that. So by all means, be very mindful of what your heart wants. And then secondly, once you go into the rest of Virgo, get the hell out of your mind after you chose a direction and be focused in making it a reality and a reality today. Now let's look at the emotions of the week. Looking at the moons, right now the moon is in Scorpio saying, oh, hell no. And it'll be all hell no on Sunday and Saturday. And we're going to be feeling through all of our boundaries all weekend. So everyone's going to be edgy, probably a little brandy, because, Virgo is like needing release, stress release. And then Scorpio moon's like, I know a stress release. So I think there'll be a lot of that going on. But I also feel that what's going to happen over the weekend with the moon in Scorpio is you're basically divorcing yourself from your old life. You're realizing that you have to emotionally, you can no longer hold on to this past, and that you're going to have to emotionally get over and draw a line. I've already had to do that because, like I said earlier in my example, I know I'm going to disappoint people. I know they're going to be upset. I know there's no way they're going to understand because they don't choose to try to understand my point of view. They don't choose to try to see my side of things. It's always the other way. I do think I chose these people in my life so that I would not fall back into my old ways. So I surrounded myself with people who are deniers. And one thing you don't do to a net 9 is deny and say you can't do it. Like, oh no, like that's what actually brings me up. So I think the moon in Scorpio is going to help us sort of shield ourselves from the fact that if you're doing the right thing, you're probably really unpopular somewhere, especially if you're a light worker, because the light workers have all been embedded in the population, like 1 per 10 or 1 per 20. And so, and we're used to sort of just like living in secret and just being okay that no one understands. And just, this is our little, they don't get it, but the moon's in Scorpio, like so many times that I keep that to myself. Now the universe is saying, no, you don't belong in this. You don't belong in this group. And so leaving the group's not going to like that you're leaving. They're not going to like that you're not playing along anymore. They're not going to like that the light is taken off board. So I think there's a lot of cord cutting from Saturday into Monday. Then we have the moon in Sagittarius, one of my favorite moons, I have to say. And as we go through that, which is late Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, this is where you have late Monday, 17, Tuesday, 18, Wednesday, manifest. So you are emotionally, as you are manifesting and you are choosing the new reality, the moon in Sag is updating your story. Updating your story is, I once believed that Christopher would never do that. I'm surprised he did. Update story, arc change, change of character, new character development. So we're processing emotionally the fact that the story has changed. And then as we move further, Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, this is where the moon goes in a Capricorn, which is even stronger. It's the anti-emotion planet. Capricorn is the anti-emotion sign. So that's where we sort of go cold and we buckle down and we launch. So it's sort of like, get prepared, fire. And then this is sort of going through the ionosphere and heading into space. So yeah, it's an interesting week. All right, moving on then to our next slide, which I think is Jupiter and Gemini, right? Jupiter and Gemini. Now, here's the thing. Jupiter is at 19 degrees right now, manifesting new ideas and a new mindset about daily life. 19 Gemini is our attitudes about life. 20 is our feelings and attitude about the future. So we shift from our attitude about life to our attitude about the future the exact same time the sun goes from our attitudes about life to our attitudes about future. Can you believe that? You can't make this shift up. In fact, that's where Jupiter's energy intersects with the sun's energy at 20 degrees on Thursday. And so if Jupiter in this, if your heart was not on the path of your heart, it can be swayed towards your Jupiter, right? What this says is your heart is the authority. So if your heart wants one thing and your beliefs say another, your beliefs are wrong. Your beliefs are wrong. You've got false rogue beliefs that you've picked up, sort of like picking up lint on a shirt. You picked it up from your church. You picked it up from your family. You got all these false beliefs. And the reason why Jupiter is in Gemini is to clear out and clean the false beliefs that are operating in our daily signal. Oh, no. 1 second. Oh, no. Typo there. We'll see if it goes. So that said, I just need 1 second here to fix this. Look at the cam. Okay. Let's take a break later. That said, we move now on to the attitude of Jupiter to Uranus. Uranus, as I said, has retrograded at 27 degrees. It is now starting to sink from the sky. It will move to step 26 or this week. That's a typo because I probably ran to the hospital at that point. I was doing the graphics, which means that you're probably going to pull away from some investments that you were making. All right. You're going to pull away from those investments. And what I was picking up psychically with a couple of clients that I was reading this week is that some people, because they're changing their course and direction, they were riding a certain like ride of something they wanted to manifest, that now once they're changing their heart or they're getting on the page of their heart, there's going to be a lot of projects abandoned is what I was seeing. So I guess I just want to impart to you, don't be afraid to walk away from something, even though it's all there, if your heart's not in it. If your heart's not in it, you are creating a prison for yourself that you'll be stuck in, that you will not be able to get out of. Sorry, I'm doing this, but there we go. Done. So I think one of the things you have to be open to is you're probably going to recommit or reorganize how you're going to manifest something, how you're going to go about making it happen. And I've already had that happen in my life. I've got a lot of things going on. And this week, a lot of changes happened. In fact, I'm not going to say on the air, but someone very close to me also broke their foot. I've had two broken wrist and broken foot. And as a result, all these plans we were doing just have gone down to nothing now until probably next year. Very surprising. Part of me thought to myself, should I push hard to make this happen anyways? Like, we can put the foot up. We can do this. We can do that. I'm like, no, the universe has spoken. It's not supposed to happen right now. Respect it. So Uranus withdrawing says that we are going to be backing away from certain investments this week. Then we have Pisces. In Pisces, Saturn is at step 16 and Neptune has retrograded back to step 28. This is really powerful because step 16 is your open heart, what your heart is open about, what your heart can accept, what your heart can take to the bank. And the sun this week is going to oppose Saturn at step 20, at step 16. And that will happen, let's see exactly when. It will actually happen Saturday night. So tomorrow night, the sun opposes this Saturn. When the sun opposes that Saturn at 16, 16 is an open heart. 6 is open, 1 is heart. So if you must be making all decisions with an open heart, okay? An open heart means that you're willing to play, you're ready to play, you're feeling joyful, you can feel your heart wanting to bounce off of things, you're creative, you're experiential, like this sugar, oh my God, this food is so good. That's an open heart. The heart is ingesting and enjoying. One of the little booby traps here of the universe is the sun opposing Saturn with the open heart. And at that point, if you are making decisions this Sunday from your mind and not from your open heart, you might choose the wrong path to manifest, because God has sort of put these Easter eggs in reality. Only those who get it, who have an open heart, are going to walk past, let's say the temptation for something to break apart, or walk past the potential of something to derail, right? So basically the temptation's on the old karmic path. So as the sun crosses Saturn in Pisces, you will be tempted to do the old thing again. And I can't say it enough. Now, here's the thing. I've had a couple of things that I've done again. And in doing those things again, I realized, oh, there was nothing wrong with that thing. What was wrong was I was judging it and calling it a bad thing. And so in some cases, I have gone back to do the wrong thing, what was once the wrong thing, only to realize it was wrong to call it wrong. It was never a wrong thing. I had succumbed to not wanting to hurt people, not wanting to upset people, meanwhile, not doing what my heart wants. My heart is open. So, it's not the wrong thing. So I had a lot of realization like, oh, I've been, judging myself for things that no one even knows about. It's silly little things that no one even see except maybe a partner or a wife, like they would see that and understand that. And I allow myself to boycott things in my life to appease what? The church? I don't know. So you will be morally tested over Sunday, ironically, as the sun opposes Saturn. I know it's long-winded, but it's necessary. That brings us to Neptune at 28. Neptune at 28 is, come on back, Neptune. Neptune 28 is I manifest. And so what I'm seeing here is between the two planets is if you pass the test of passing Saturn and you make the right choice with your heart, then you will manifest, I believe, the new timeline. If you make a choice based on anything else than an open heart, then you will continue to manifest the old timeline. That is what my spirit's saying. That is what I feel. And so you see how God puts in these little stop gates of kind of these checkpoints as to whether or not you're on the right path. That's what really an aspect is a checkpoint. And then, of course, we have Pluto strikes again in Capricorn. Pluto at 29 Capricorn. And 29 is your ego responding to your feelings to make a net 11. This is going to cause a lot of things to fall apart. First, the low-hanging fruit will fall first. So you're going to see things that were already on the edge of going, things that are already on the edge of falling apart. Your knee was already giving you trouble before you blew it out. It's all stuff you knew about. Why did it blow out? You didn't listen to your feelings. Your feelings told you, hey, my knee hurts. Hey, we should sit down. Your ego overpowered and said, no, we've got to walk a mile because we've got to lose our weight and we've got to look good and look pretty for this person, for the outside world. The ego, remember, is the representative of the outside world. This literally is the fight between giving the outside world your importance or your inside world importance. That's what 29 is. 9 is the outside world. 2 is the inner world. So if you take the 9 and you point it to support the inner world, you're on the ascension path. If you leave your emotions inflamed and you try to go put out the fire by finding help from someone else, not that you can't have help, but it's only after you soothe yourself that you go for it. But if you try to go find and fix the inside with an outside remedy, not aspirin, but like, something conscious, like being happy, then Pluto, I think, is going to start to yank down the power of that situation. People who are giving the outside greater credit than the inside, I think Pluto's going to start to tear down. And don't worry, Pluto moves slow. So first it'll crack, and then it'll crack some more, and then you hear some more cracking. And once you hear some more, you better get out of there because Pluto's not going to let it continue. By the way, that's till November 19th. We have that force. And then we have Aries energy, the red. In the Aries energy, we have the North Node at 6 degrees all week long. We have the North Node at 6 degrees all month long. What is 6 degrees? An open heart, being open to your own heart. And it's in Aries, which is basically what we just did with Saturn at 16 and also Pluto at 29. Ultimately, anytime you approach yourself, if you want to be on the right path, then approach yourself with an open heart. An open heart is like, oh, I don't know, this might taste good or that might taste good. Or I don't know, like a kid in a candy store, like all of it's so good. Which one do I want? A child's heart is completely open. It's not shut down. It's not trying to get out of something. It's just trying to be what it is in that moment. So the North Node is saying, stay with an open heart. Chiron at 22, Aries, says, again, remember the lower degrees always impact the higher degrees. So if you get these wrong, these get corrupted, right? So if you open your heart and you sort of whistle while you work, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, right? Then you will charge this the first two and the 22, it will be charged with personal satisfaction, with personal joy, with personal feeling of completion, wisdom, maturity, right? And so what happens is this 2 then affects the outer world 2. And so 22 is what you attract. This is the law of attraction in action, step 22. So the point is if you do not walk the path with an open heart all week long, then you will charge this 2 with a closed 2, like closed down, no love, no fun. And then the other 2 of the Chiron will then law of attract opportunity that's based on you not having that fun and you not doing well. So, the more I talk about this week, the more I realize this week is really a test. This is a huge test. This is the portal, from what I can tell. This is like an obstacle course of getting everything right. And I'll tell you right now, open your heart and you will. But let's go down to Libra. In Libra, we have this pajama party going on. South node, actually, that's the wrong symbol. Should be upside down. South node, Black Moon Lilith is at 7, and she actually goes higher than that. I think she wasn't reported correctly because of our mayhem. And Venus actually goes from 10 onward, and we don't have the exit. You can see where I stopped here. Sorry, folks. It's all right. We're improving. Now, Venus at 10 means that we have come to accept our truth inside of ourselves as of we start this week. You've accepted your truth. I accepted mine. One of the truths I accepted was, oh, you know what? It's not that there's something wrong with me. It's that I was perceiving their beliefs, putting them onto me, then feeling bad, then not doing or being what I want to be so that I can impress someone that would never know. It's crazy, right? It's built in. So Venus says, okay, we have now opened up to who we are. And the South Node at 6 means it's time to let go of anything in the opposite. So the South Node is opposite that your heart is closed to. So if your heart is closed, it's got to go. If your heart is closed, it's got to go. So this is sort of like a garage sale. It's kind of like, hey, should we sell this or should we keep it? I don't know. Well, does your heart love it? No, I don't care. Throw it away. That's it. That's all you need to know. The same is true with yourself. If you don't love it, it's time to go. It's not a matter of, oh, one day I might wear it. No. If you don't love it, it's time to go. It is a smash closeout sale. Anything you don't love needs to go. Because honestly, you're holding that up from where it really belongs anyways, and you're letting it take up space for the things that you'll really love. Black Moon Lilith in the same space, actually, she goes from 9 to 11, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from the research. But Black Moon Lilith is also helping us to face any fears of the relationship consequences that will come from us being true to our heart. I already gave an example. I spent like half the week worried and paralyzed. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't move because I was afraid of hurting someone else and hurting other people. That's Black Moon Lilith, those higher degrees right there. So you will face your trauma and your fears and your issues. Excuse me. Around letting people down. I've been actually releasing, I don't know what is inside my mucuses all week long too. So if you suddenly find yourself a little terrified that someone's going to be upset or a relationship's not going to work or they're not going to really believe in you, that's your trauma. Okay. Anyone that loves you, truly loves you, will always support you. Anyone that conditionally loves you and says, I'll love you if you do what I say, they don't really love you. That's not real love. They may feel love for you, but that's not really what loving a person is. God doesn't say you have to be anything, right? So I think a lot of the test also with these energies, and this is going to turn up as we go into Libra, is, again, this week we just start to make the split, but there will be a lot of relationships that just aren't going to make the cut because one of the parties was loving themselves and one of the parties was not. And then we have one last little peekaboo, and that is Mars in Cancer, which I think we got the data in for. Yay. Nope. Yep, we did. So Mars in Cancer, Mars starts at 1 degree Cancer like today and goes to 5 degrees by the end of this week. And boy, did I feel Mars in Cancer today. I have had so much. Oh my God. There was I felt Mars tippy-toeing coming out of Gemini and going into Cancer. I had incredible rage and anger come up out of nowhere. And that's because I'm Mr. Nice Guy. I always stuff down my anger. I always take the high road. And my inner child let me have it. Told me no way. I was so angry, I could not record my stuff, pep talks. I could not record the mega monthlies because I could not get the anger out of my tone. I could not get it out. And I didn't know if I should punch somebody. I mean, I had to just do some walking and some pacing. And and just let it burn off like steam. But I predicted it would happen. I didn't realize it would hit me so hard, but I've been really holding a lot of stress and anger, and my inner child was just really mad. So Mars from 1 to 5 is basically turning up all the negative emotion you have about yourself. Your ego is sort of starting fights with yourself, and it's trying to break up that dense energy of emotion and break up that sort of like, it looks like mucus. Like when emotion gets really tight, it's like a mucus ball, which sounds gross, and it should be. And so those are going to sort of be, that's probably why I have so much drainage right now. And that's going to basically be pushing through this week of all of where you're sort of stuck and you're too sticky with yourself and you've got too many opinions and you're like all this emotion held up. So this will be definitely, this might be also while accidents are happening, because basically Mars is saying, hey, we got to break up these emotions. And the reason why they're all dense is because the person didn't want to feel them in the first place. And so they get densified. And by the way, dense emotion turns into cancer. Dense emotion turns into cancer. It'll turn into a tumor that eats itself, that grows itself out of proportion, just can't stop growing. So it's really healthy to go ahead and let that anger out, go for a walk, take the energy to nurture yourself. I gave myself all the things that I shouldn't have. The sugary ice cream, for instance, like, sure, I just threw that stuff at it. I don't care. I'll let myself have it because I know I can master my reality. Alrighty, so let's take a look at a couple of planets, just a couple of charts here. We're about 15 minutes behind, but what's behind when it's yours, when you own it? Says me. All right, empty thumbnail, bing, here we go, allow. You should get this up in a bit. All righty. Yay. Look at that guy. Later tonight, we have Karen Newell on, which I'm really happy for. I could use some of her binaural beats, to be honest. She's phenomenal. She's actually the partner of someone. I'll say it at the end of the show who she's the partner of, because I don't want to make, I don't want to make her credibility based on who she's partnered with. But she actually is married to someone we've already had on the show, which I think is super cool because the relationship is really cool. But she actually has created this binaural beat system where you listen to the audios. And because they sort of like go back and forth between your ears, it puts you into meditation. I'm going to try it because I have a hard time keeping my mouth and my mind quiet. But let's look at the chart for the day. So I didn't even get a chance to talk this, but Mercury squares Uranus this weekend in the middle of the night. Mercury at 27 squares Uranus at 27. Okay. This is the point where you're going to say, I'm going for my dreams or I'm not. I don't care where you are in life. If you don't say you are right here, that's a problem. I really recommend you say yes and then figure out how to pay for it later. But Mars going, saying, I'm going for my dreams, squares Uranus going, well, we were building this over here. And so there's going to be this back and forth about reconciling. Well, is it about the money or is it about the love? And guess what? See this yod? It's about the love. Pluto at 29, Neptune manifesting the reality, pouring into this decision right here in our mind. We're feeling this. Another yard here, Mars and, our self-love and our ideas are what's transforming our power, pointing up to here. Another yod, our spirituality and our new life, pointing up to this moon at 29 Libra. We're going to have to push the limits of our relationships, which is squaring Pluto. Put simply, this one chart happening, after midnight on the East Coast on Saturday. So really later tonight, this moment. So how do you win this? You just got to make sure that you're going after what you feel and what you sense is the right thing to do. Yes, your heart loves it, but do you feel and sense that also? Then we have the opposition happening on Sunday I was talking about, where we have this tug of war between faith and reality. Faith and reality. And how do we get the truth? We open our heart, right? Open is 6, 1 is the heart, adds to a 7. So really over Sunday, let's see, at just after midnight, so really Saturday night for the rest of the country, there is a tug of war where you'll probably have a choice to make. It'll probably be a small choice. One thing I find is that when God tests us, it's not with the big things like, will you or won't you, get the surgery? God actually tests us with like, oh, here's an opportunity for Chris. Let's see if he takes it, or let's see if he tries to, go the old route where he pleases others. And it might be as simple as sugar-free or sugary ice cream. That's why I always use these mundane examples, because if you can get away with the mundane, then you go ahead and climb up and do the same thing as you go up to the consciousness. So I highly recommend that you choose everything with an open heart going forward, going forward through the weekend, and definitely as you go to bed that night. Then on Monday, Mercury moves into Virgo at step 0. Now, that does mean Mercury in Virgo, I don't like very much. I'm not saying you people who have it. I'm saying when it's in Mercury, it's in Virgo, I start losing consciousness. There's just too much data going through my head. I literally end every night like having to calm down because my mind is firing. Now I have a grand trine to air, so this just puts too much weight on everything. But it does mean that we're going to get very, very clear. Look at this, Venus at 13 degrees at that moment, basically calling for us to take our relationships higher right at this moment. We'll leave this one go. Mercury sextiles. We'll go here too. And then we go to this Thursday event that I was telling you about. And this is the last of the line. So if you're headed right here, see, Jupiter in 20 has been, remember I said it was the summer of love? And I said people are going to fall in love with ideas. They're going to fall in love with themselves, and they're going to fall in love with ideas. That doesn't mean an idea is not real. An idea is a blueprint. It's a very different thing to fall in love with a blueprint versus falling in love with the house, okay? So we have this tendency right now to be falling in love with the blueprint, the ideas, because Jupiter's just juicing up all these ideas right now. But then when Jupiter squares the sun, okay, at 20 in Virgo, where suddenly Virgo calls the hand. Virgo's going to be like to your mind, like, okay, let's see your hand. What do you got for a card spread since you're playing poker? And when Virgo calls the reality, Jupiter here is going to probably have nothing but puff, the magic dragon kind of energy and not really be able to pay the piper. So in this moment is Thursday, early morning. So let's say Wednesday night, but really Thursday mornings, all Thursday morning, you better pay attention to what's real and not be focusing on what your mind is saying. Remember I said earlier, you can't be living in the future like, oh, one day I'll get that. That's not real. That's not real. That's a blueprint. What's real is you have the money right now to do it. Are you going to do it now or not? And the other thing I see here is, see this Mercury at 4 and Mars at 4? Very interesting. At that same time, for you to see reality, okay, of this square and choose the right path, which I think is Virgo, you have to be on the correct side of your heart as far as your reality inside your body, and your ego has to be on the correct side of your heart and your feelings at that time. If your ego at 4 and your Mercury at 4 is being rebellious and says, oh, I'll do another day, screw you, I'll do another day, you weren't on the side of your heart, I'm sorry you're not going on, the rainbow bus, at least this year, because you're on the side of appeasing something else outside of you, not appeasing you inside of you in that moment. And so, again, you've made the wrong choice. It's time to go back to 0. And that is actually all we have for our horoscopes. Our things. What do you call it? Our charts. So go steep yourself some tea, my friend, and let's have our tea time. Hello and welcome to our tea time. For those who are new to our service, this is the I Become Evolved is a theme. This is where I go into the horoscopes for all 12 signs. These horoscopes are high density horoscopes. You might want to watch them again. We will release them on Tuesday of the following week. And these make an excellent little share if you want to impress people on your timeline. Just put it out there and show them who you are and what you're doing. Tell the people how to treat you by watching this. Now, for each of the signs this week, I got kind of thinking about what is the most important thing I need to do to help help our world coach through this particular moment. Woo. And what I realized was there's a couple things. I don't know why I'm turning out green for some reason. There's just some weird lighting going on here. It's just all funky. So I did some research and I realized, first of all, I want to talk about the new moon after effects. Okay. The new moon after effects. That you went through a new moon at 11 degrees, and then you started to analyze your life according to that integrity. Here we are on Friday, all right? And on this Friday, you've come through the whole week, and so this is the reflective time. This weekend will be a reflective weekend. And the question is, are you in alignment with your integrity, or are you not? Thanks, Kat. She's sending me Reiki. I wonder why my back was itching. Just kidding. So I'm going to talk about where you were called to be in integrity at the new moon, reminding you now that it's hindsight, and then talking about what part of your life might be falling apart if you're not in that alignment. Then I'll talk about the square to Jupiter. I'll talk about how that direction of your life, what your reality is becoming, what part of your life it's going to intersect with that particular square, and cause you to have a reconciliation as to whether or not your mind is on the board with your heart or your mind has gone rogue off in another direction. And a lot of people love to think and they love thoughts, but thoughts are not reality. Thoughts are the blueprint. It's just a drawing on the chalkboard. A thought is worthless unless it's backed up by protection, love, emotion, belief, and belonging. Otherwise, a thought is an empty thought. It's a shallow thought if it doesn't have those other 4 states of awareness backing it. So you might have built with Jupiter. It's very possible, Jupiter and Gemini, that you've gone off on this tangent and, oh my God, you're going to buy a house and this house is going to be like on an island and you're going to party and you're going to invite all these people. And you finally get to it and you're like, wait a second, this is just me intellectually running with an idea. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull this off. So a lot of us are going to get knocked off our cloud or our pedestal because we were allowing our mind to just go crazy with Jupiter. And that's what Jupiter does. It's like, oh, how about this? Oh, how about this? Or how about this? Jupiter's just like an internet. It's like, oh, you link here and here's another link to goes to that. And Jupiter will just keep feeding you as far as you want to go, conning yourself and being wrong. It will allow you to deceive yourself by using all these these thoughts that appear logical, but are based on nothing. There's no heart behind it. There's no feeling. There's no belief behind it. It's just an empty thought that just grew really tall because of Jupiter. So the Sun square Jupiter will be, I'll be analyzing where it is that you may have a little energetic crash, or maybe your mind is on the right page and suddenly your mind is this great supporter of the heart, which is possible. Is mine half as much? I'd say half. Then I'll talk about Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. What part of your life are you going to have an open heart as the Sun opposes Saturn? So we're talking about the Saturn opposition and where you must keep your heart open. And then lastly, I will talk about that, what I talked about at the end of last week and also the last of this show just now, is this South Node of Libra and Venus in Libra. Where is it that you must accept yourself in life, and where will relationships become disruptive most likely? All right? Are we all with that? We'll do it over and over. The 4 elements that the mind needs to back up: protection, love, emotion, belief. It's actually 5, and belonging. 0 is a secret one, so I forget to count it. So protection, love, emotion, belief, and belonging. You have to have all that behind the thought. Otherwise, it's an empty thought. All right. Sorry, Adam. I'm ready now. Aries. Look at a Muppet. Aries, your integrity had to do literally with your health and lifestyle. So the universe is like, you got to get your health and lifestyle in order. If you don't get your health and lifestyle in order, you're not going to live in the new reality, basically. You're going to live in the old reality, the struggle bus, basically. That's what it's saying. So you've got to get your these things in order and get them in order now, your health. Now, getting your health in order means that as the week goes on, if you're not in your integrity in your being, and by the way, health also means the energy of the moment. It's not healthy to be angry in the moment, Aries. It's not healthy to be jealous in the moment. It's not healthy to be impatient in the moment. That's not healthy either. That's saying I want the future before it comes. It's about being in your integrity. Is my heart's just fine sitting on this porch doing this thing right now. That is integrity, that you're happy in your heart. So if you are not happy in your heart and your integrity, you're going to see parts of your work, your lifestyle, the tools you use at work, the people will call in at work, call in sick at work. You're going to find that your daily routine starts to collapse because it's no longer based in integrity anymore. And the commandment of the new moon was it has to be in integrity. Now, the other can be true too, by the way, just to make a distinction. If you are in integrity and something falls apart, that was because that was not in integrity also. So technically it can fall apart either way, but there's a difference. One way is you'll be happy to see him go. One way will be that you won't be happy to see them go. So if you're happy to see that everyone quit the job because you were really, triggered by them, not enjoying working with them, then you are in integrity. It's not what your heart wanted. Your heart didn't want to work with that person. And so it is. So be mindful of that. Now, again, the sun will oppose Saturn in Pisces. And so come, is it Thursday? No, it's actually Sunday. So come Sunday when it hits 16, that means that you you have to have an open heart and you have to really listen to what your soul is calling for you. So when I say listen to the soul, I really meant for Aries the most. You got to listen to your intuition. Your sign is the one that tends to ignore intuition uh, in the moment before you do. Like an Aries will have their intuition while they're actually going out and running and with the spear or whatever. They'll be intuitive then. Where they're not intuitive is before they run. Okay. So you got to check your intuition before you run, before you go and attack that particular thing. Because only then, once you're running, you're not going to, stop when you get a bad signal. Aries just kind of go for it. So this basically is a balance between faith and reality is what this opposition to Saturn is, that you must be, have equal faith as you do, look at reality as fact, but also look at your faith as equal fact. And if that's the case and you have 2 votes, you'll find yourself on the right path. And then lastly, for you, you're mirage. So you finally are out of the closet about how ugly or good you are to yourself. This last week was showing you how you can be a monster to yourself, or how you can be good to yourself, or how you can sabotage yourself. There's no more. You know now. You can't deny. It's undeniable. So now that you know how you can deceive yourself, or how you can fall into fear with yourself, or how you can close down to yourself, now Venus is going to go this week into your relationships. And keep that in mind. If you have been false to yourself, and someone in your life has been false to you, it's because you were false to yourself. So are you going to blame that person who is attracted to someone false? My point is, you're going to see some real truth in your relationships if you are really truthful with yourself. How many times are you going to say self? All right, moving on. Take a drink. We should do a drinking game here, right? I'm very white. It's like I'm in the theater or something, like I'm in the freezer. Taurus. Ooh, yeah. Taurus, I just put my own life in the context here. Taurus, you must be in integrity with loving yourself in your heart and loving what you love. That makes sense. So if you love yourself and you love what you love, then everything in your personal dreams will come true. If you don't love yourself and you love what you love, then you will find that your creative projects, things your heart was trying to build, let's say you're trying to get tickets to a rock and roll concert or something, you won't get it because you weren't loving yourself and loving your love. Loving your love means that everything you love, you actually love again. Tauruses will do that. They're very possessive and they'll buy something and then like, throw it over their shoulder and stop loving it. So what the universe is saying is like, it only needs to be you loving you and all the things you love. If you don't love it, you should get rid of it, Taurus, and you should not have it in your life, basically, is what for Taurus is, because it will muck up your ability to manifest. So if you love yourself and love what you love, then your dreams will start to come true. Romance will start to go forward. The golden egg and the golden age will start to unfold for you. Now, so you're going to run down that path of everything you love, all right, until you hit an intersection with Jupiter, which is money and abundance. Tauruses may be in for a wake-up call that they have been trying to create a revenue stream that they don't love, okay? This happens all the time with Tauruses. Tauruses will be like, I'm going to make this. It's going to make a lot of money. And once I make a lot of money, I'm going to go save the world with all the money I make. And God's like, no. You got to love the next thing. You can't love 2 things later. So Jupiter in 20 is going to be a wake-up call to Tauruses where you're going to find that your mind might have swept you under the bus. You might have fallen for the sales pitch. You might have been, got all caught up in the language and not realized that you're not really into it. You were into what it would bring you. You weren't into it itself. So I think a wake-up call for Tauruses, they were in love with an idea and not in love with the reality. Then we have the opposition to Saturn, which for Taurus has to do with society. And so basically, the universe is saying, Taurus, your heart has to be in love, and you have to love what it is in the world. You can't, if you don't have an open heart about what you're doing and an open heart about where it's going in the world, there's a disconnect. And the disconnect is probably, it could be either actually. You could be doing something in the world you don't love. You could be not in love in the moment because you're too busy doing something in the world you don't love. So you must be happy in the moment and you must be happy with where you are in the world, or your heart must be open and okay with it. And then for the South Node in Libra, this has to do with health and lifestyle. So, that's interesting. I listen to my own horoscope. Because you now know in your body what is true. And I had that moment this week. I can't go down the path right now, but I ultimately had also one of my old scares about health, because I'm getting all congested and stuff. I'm like, what is this? You know, but I can realize I'm fine. I can feel that I'm fine. I'm not going to go down that path. So I pass my boogeyman around, you know, getting sick or falling into sickness and that sort of thing. So you too will have some sort of thing about being stressed or being unhappy or whatever. Once you have come into that calm blue ocean of how you feel about yourself, then you will this week start to open up to an entire lifestyle that is balanced, that is fair, and that is good for you. Okay, moving on. We are texting. Sorry, folks. I just can't afford for the food not to come. Oh my God. I had something ordered last week and it didn't even make it. So the person who delivered our groceries stole our dinner. Isn't that crazy? We're just like, what? It was so crazy. It's like, okay, I hope you have food. Gemini's now, the integrity had to do with your feelings. So the new moon said, get your feelings in order. It's actually Chinese. Get your feelings in order. Get your emotions in order. Get yourself in alignment. Snap out of it, says Cher. So you were building integrity in your emotional kernel with that new moon. And if you were not in your emotional kernel, you would have had emotional breakdowns. So if Gemini's got worried or went to anxiety and went down a portal of worry, it's because you're not loving yourself and loving yourself more in your emotions. If you're in integrity, you're now going to have an exploration of all of your feelings. What do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? What do you feel about this? And you're going to be exploring your feelings because you're going to be making a determination next Monday of how you want to feel all the time in life. Don't be mistaken in thinking, Gemini, that how you feel has to do with anything outside of you. Nothing. It has to do with how you feel inside of yourself, okay? So you're working on emotions and you're working how you feel about yourself. Now, as we move forward and we have that square to Jupiter in your sign, it's very possible that your ego has run down the path with Jupiter and signed yourself for all these things that don't actually feel good. And you just got drunk on the power of Jupiter and you were like, oh my God, this, and I'll take this and 2 of those and 5 of these. And then you got there and you're like, this doesn't feel good. So the intersection for you, Gemini, is you've got to pull your ego in check. That's Jupiter. You got to pull your ego in check because if it's writing checks you can't cash or that feel bad, you're going to end up having a breakdown down the road. So you're going to have probably a course correction. And I do predict that Geminis might bail out of something than something else. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Got it. Oh, all kinds of technology stuff happening. We'll see if the food gets here. All right. Now, moving forward, we also have, of course, the opposition to Saturn and Pisces. And so for Geminis and your connection in Pisces, it has to do with your connection from your emotions to your career. So you're going to do another check this week where you go, hey, my career, where it's going, decisions I'm making, does it feel good? Does it resonate with what I feel it should be? Is it really, is my heart open with what my career is doing? Is my heart open with what I am doing with myself? And if the answer is yes and yes, you're on the right path. But there might be an alteration in where you go with your career, what decision you make, because it doesn't feel good to you. It doesn't resonate. Then, of course, we have Venus in Libra, and this is big for Geminis. What the universe showed you in the last week and a half is how bad you are at loving yourself, how you fail to do it. You escape in your mind. You blame it on other people and things you haven't gotten. And you now know that your happiness is your job, period. Not even a job of your mind or thinking about cool things. It's your job. So Venus has cleared the trauma around loving yourself. Maybe you were ashamed for loving yourself. Maybe you were, treated poorly by your parents whenever you did things for yourself. So maybe you've been conditioned to not do things for yourself. But this opposition does say, I mean, with Saturn and with career, love yourself, and Venus moving onward says you have to put yourself first no matter what. And if you do, Gemini, you will be on the path to serious joy, true love, creativity with a K. Anything is possible if you go ahead and choose you with self-love. All right. Moving on to the crabs. Cancer. Cancer, first of all, the integrity that you were called to come into had to do with the way you talk to yourself on the inside. Do you talk to yourself with love or do you talk to yourself with criticism? That's it, right? I know a lot of Cancers that go back and forth, right? Because of the moon. So they'll be like, oh, I'm great. And they're like, I'm horrible. I'm great. I'm horrible. It's time to just lock that down into what you are. Love yourself and love yourself some more on the inside with all your thoughts about yourself, the words you call yourself, the phrases you use for yourself. And then as we move forward this week with the sun, you'll then begin to kind of filter that self-love into all the different things you think about and talk about and communicate about. All of your ideas about everything in life will start to become on this side of love. If you start to fall into a depression, or your mind gets negative, or you start getting, start saying things you don't really mean, that's a good sign that you did not love yourself on the new moon and you are not operating in integrity in your mind based on your heart. Now, the square is with spirituality and God. And oh my God, this is a really eye-opening one because I'm thinking about the cancers I know. A lot of cancers have run too far with their idea of what God is, not with the actual connection to God. And that reminds me of an old joke that I'm not going to tell you right now. But ultimately, you think that you have faith until something happens that tests you and you actually don't, because you freak out and you go down a wormhole. You don't have faith over it. The point is that you're going to have a reality check, cancers, between your mind and your spirituality. Your mind is saying one thing, your faith is saying another. I'm suspecting that it's going to be the faith part that's a real challenge, that cancers had made up their mind that they had faith, but they didn't really actually feel the faith. And so there might be a change in where you put your eggs, what basket, or what you put your faith in once you hit that square on Thursday. Now, the other aspect, of course, is the opposition to Cancer and Saturn. And so you're working on thoughts and communication. The opposition to Saturn says your beliefs must come from an open heart. So when you say, I believe, your heart must be open. When you say I, your heart must be open. So if you are speaking about yourself and you're speaking about what you believe and your heart is open, they are aligned. If you don't have an open heart on one of the two, like you're like, I don't know about that kind of feeling about the belief, or I don't know about that, about the thought, then you are not in alignment once again, as we had said. And then here's the big one for cancers I've really noticed. Venus in Libra last week was clearing areas of your life where you feel bad about yourself. And those came up true. So you've become to reality about your true feelings about yourself. You've integrated your shadow and your positive with your feelings. If you have, in fact, cleared your shadow of how you feel about yourself, then Venus going forward this week is going to help you to feel good about everything in life. If this week you find you don't feel good about your job, you don't feel good about this, you don't feel good about that, it's because you don't feel good about yourself. And you're feeling a reflection of you as you go out there and say everything feels bad. You're not paying attention to your feeling bad before you walked out the door. All right. Now on to a shiny penny. Leos. Oh, I have a Leo rising. So Leos, it was time for you this week to create integrity with your self-worth. That I am worthy, I deserve it, whether or not I win the lottery, whether or not I get the promotion, whether or not I get the attention, which is a big one. A lot of Leos are like out farming attention from people to fill in that self-hole, that self-esteem hole. So it's like, tell me how pretty I am, tell me how cool I am, filling up that self-esteem hole that they can't fill it themselves. Remember, the sun rules Leo. The sun doesn't need the planets to be hot. The sun doesn't need anything to be hot. It's hot. It's a star already. So if you came into that star quality inside of you and you knew that you're a star, even though all these planets are not giving you attention, you won the lesson there. If you do that, you're then going to go on to a week of making money and new revenue streams based on that new integrity. If you're not in that self-love integrity, you might see business deals and things start to go sour. And so look at your finances this week, whether it's sales or whatever. If the sales are going up, you have strong self-esteem. If the sales are going down, you do not have strong self-esteem. You're kidding yourself. You're still worried about the world to fill in that check that you cash, to cash that check. Now, the opposition to Pisces for you has to do with your personal boundaries. Your boundaries have to be constructed to where your heart is always open. You got to have a boundary structure that keeps your heart open. Now, if keeping my heart open means keeping certain people away, okay, so that's okay. Not doing certain things I don't like carrying out the garbage. I don't have an open heart when I carry out the garbage. So have the boundaries to make sure that you have an open heart with all the time, that you're keeping your heart open. And so the sun at 16 will also test that to see whether or not your heart is open about business, finance, and manifestation. And so that opposition, which again happens on Sunday, is like a little test to see, is your heart open to making money? And then Saturn in Pisces, is your heart open to receiving the money and collecting it? Because making and collecting are two different steps, by the way. And then lastly, The Venus beginning last week, oh, I'm just realizing just how much I fall into my own astrology here. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I said in the first half of the show. But basically, your self-talk has got to be positive. And so last week, you got a real understanding of where your mind goes rogue, where your mind throws you under the bus, where your mind gives up on yourself, where your mind goes teeter-totter and loses balance with yourself on the inside. So if you really cleared all that, and now you know like what the straight and narrow is and how to talk to yourself, then this week, Venus is going to open up to a whole bunch of ideas, conversations, and all sorts of things that really support your life. If your mind is still doubting yourself, you're going to be in conversations where people say they doubt you. You're going to have people that are not going to want to invest in you or talk to you because they can intuitively sense that you don't really talk to yourself. So why should I talk to you, Your Majesty? All right. I'm being silly tonight. All right. I'm ready for Virgo. Virgo! Virgo, happy birthday. Damn it. I know it's been a tough birthday. There's a lot of change going on, but you're going to be so happy when you're done with this transformation. Just suck it up, hold in the breath, and go through the transformation. You're going through an ego change. So you were called to get your ego in check with yourself on last Monday. So in other words, your ego better treat you as if it loves you. Your ego better not throw you under the bus, better not punish you, better not make it harder, make you do the hard way, better not give up because you're just flustered and you run away, which Virgos do. They'll just ghost you and go away because they're overwhelmed with the data sometimes. You got to be really nice to yourself. You got to love yourself. And it's got to be something I can see that's tangible that I can read, right? So love yourself and be tangible about loving yourself. If you love yourself, Virgo, then all of your behavior with other people will be loving and people will treat you in a loving way. Most Virgos, that will tell me how they've been treated so poorly. Like, that person just did not respect me, did not treat me. I cannot believe how disrespected I was. And I always have to get in the fight with the Virgo. I'm like, it's because you are putting yourself down before you even went out there. And so you attracted someone who did the same thing you did to yourself. So that is hyper aware right now. If you're having anyone treating you poorly right now, Virgo, it's because you're not treating yourself well on the inside. The law of attraction energy is super powerful. Now, the square to Jupiter has to do with your career and legacy. And so the problem here is you may be running on some sort of a career idea. You might have gotten the bug of some great idea come around June when Jupiter went into Gemini, and you're just like crazy and ready to finance it and just rocking and rolling. And as the sun squares on Thursday, you may realize, this is a good idea, but I don't really want to do it. I don't want to do the work. I don't want to mow a lawn. I don't want to do this. You didn't really, your mind didn't ask your heart, does it love doing it? A lot of people sign up for stuff that's like a good idea, like, oh my God, I want to be a plastic surgeon. Well, wait till your fingers are in someone's guts or whatever, and then ask yourself, is this fun, right? Like sometimes you have to do it to know if you love it. So I think Virgos will have some wake-up calls and that they'll realize they've been putting things out there for them to do that they don't really want to do when they actually look at what the work is involved or the details. The other opposition that happens is Saturn, of course, in Pisces at 16 degrees, which means your ego has to want to be in the relationship, and in the relationship, you cannot lose yourself. So that back and forth is sort of a security check to make sure that your ego is not running away from your relationships. It's also doing its responsibility there, and that your relationships aren't taking away from what your ego wants to do. So it's like, oh, because my partner doesn't want this to happen, I guess I'm going to pass on it now and just give it up. Your relationships and your ego have to be on the same page. And then Venus was about self-worth last week, calling for Virgos to really open up and take a good look at how much they love themselves and how much they value themselves, right? So if you got sick and you didn't get up and take yourself to the doctor, you didn't value yourself. If you were worried about something, or if you were stewing on something and you didn't do anything about it to clear it up, you didn't care about yourself, you didn't value yourself, it doesn't matter. These are old habits if you found them, and they don't have to continue. So accept the fact that you were wrong, accept the fact that you were hard on yourself, that you eliminated your own self-worth in those moments. And if you do, Venus moving on to the next degrees is going to put you in a position to really start collecting abundance and money. If this week you're having problem with sales, problem with money, you're worried about things coming into fruition, then we know you did not value yourself at the beginning of the week. As you can see, this whole week is I realize, right? We're all realizing these big things. All righty, moving on. I need some more water. Libra. Libra, with this Virgo energy, it's actually in your subconscious, is your faith in yourself. So the new moon was basically saying to Libra, you have to have faith in yourself. You can't have proof. It has to be invisible. It has to be there when you wake up, having this faith in yourself. Now, every person has faith in themselves when they're born until they make mistakes and they start degrading that faith. So it's there from the beginning. We just came from God and we're born. We have faith. There's nothing in the way. We're pure children. But then things happen. People treat us bad. Karma stuff happens. And we start to go, oh, there's something wrong with me. It's a natural thing. So you've been called with that new moon to say, you've got to get on the side of your faith. You got to get rid of and evict the fear and come into that integrity, period. All right. Now, if you do, you will start to have faith in life. If you do not have faith in yourself, you will not have faith in life this week. So pay attention to whether or not you have faith in life, and that'll tell you whether or not you have faith in yourself. Now, that squares with Jupiter around your beliefs and your purpose. And so Jupiter has been putting Libras on this new belief and new purpose. Like, I know what my purpose is to do this. It's not to take care of everyone in the world. It's to take care of this, right? But those were ideas. Those weren't necessarily actions, experience, any kind of proof. So the square for you will be that you may realize that although these are great ideas, you don't really have faith in them. You don't really feel and sense they're going to take off. They're just great ideas, but you don't know if they'll work. So if you find yourself saying, I have great ideas, but I don't know if they're going to work, that tells you right there, those ideas are not based on your soul. They're not based on your heart. Because if you don't have a sense and a feeling and an intuition that they're going to work, that's because your intuition is telling you they're not going to work. This was an elaborate chalkboard exercise diagram that means nothing because it's not backed by the first 5. All right. Now, the other opposition is with lifestyle and performance. Basically, you have to have a very open heart about faith, and you have to have an open heart and flexibility about changing your life. And so if you can't change your life, it's probably because you don't have faith, right? And if you have a lot of, what's the opposite? If you feel like you can change your life, but you're worried it'll happen, then you probably don't, you're not bringing the faith into your life, or you're not bringing the practicality in your faith. So an open heart this week will show you that, yes, I have faith in life, and I have faith in the moment. That's what I was looking for. Faith in life and faith in the moment. They must be coordinated this week. And then Venus in your sign, I don't think this is a good one for you, this Venus transit, because it's going over Black Moon Lilith, the South Node, all this garbage in space. But what it revealed was basically how you can be really hard and ugly to yourself, how you can just throw yourself under the bus, help someone else right away. Oh, I'm there for you. I'm there for you. I'm there for you. And then with yourself, it's like, oh, I'm going to have to get up and take myself to, a specialist. I don't feel like it. I'm not going to do it. Or you're not really being there for yourself. So Venus revealed where Libras let themselves down in the last 10 days. If you have learned to be there for yourself and open up to your wounds and open up to the truth and not judge the truth, then you will then begin to have smooth operations with your behavior with others. If you find yourself in conflict with people in your daily life this week, it's because you're still being a jerk to yourself and your law of attracting the same situation outside of yourself. All right. Scorpio. Scorpio, you are coming into integrity about your place in the world. And what I mean by this is you have wrongly told yourself that you have to be certain things in the world, or people have told you that you've got to be certain things in the world. The biggest thing is the policeman, right? We all expect Scorpios to be the one that draws the line, right? If you got a Scorpio in your business and you just hear the boss say something really crazy, like we're canceling Christmas, you just look over, that Scorpio in a minute, it's like, we're going to sting that boss with god-awful truth and let them know, hey, that can't happen. Now, Scorpios told themselves that they're the ones that have to tell the boss wrong, or they're the ones that have to call the truth. You're the one that threw yourself and told yourself you had to be that. If you don't want to be the cop, if you don't want to be the one that draws the line, then don't. Making yourself is not loving yourself. And here's the thing. I know a lot of Scorpios very disappointed with their track record in society right now. And some have a great track record and never get the credit. Some have a horrible track record, even though they worked their ass off and tried the hardest. And it's because you're making yourself go do jobs that you don't want to do. And then you're getting a low score at it and you're hating yourself even more. So if you find society working with you this week, it means that you're on your own side when it comes to society. If the whole world is giving you grief, that means that you force yourself to be something in the world that you actually don't want to do. So it's a beta test. Now, as we opposition to Saturn, it has to do with your own personal dreams and in the world. You must simultaneously have an open heart so that your heart is getting what it wants for Christmas and you get to be who you are in the world. You can have both. This is a cake and eat it too type of thing. You don't have to sacrifice your job to have your family. You have to sacrifice your family to have your job. You should have both. It's yes and, right? So you're going to have a little calibration when that opposition happens on Sunday as to whether or not your society part of you and your self-love part of you are on the same page. Say that 3 or 4 times. And then Venus in Libra says to Scorpios, in the last week, the universe was revealing to you where you ultimately have a lot of fear that comes up. You have fear that comes up and you allow that fear to cripple you. You have fear that comes up about something. I don't want this to happen. And you allow that to make it ruin your faith. And so there's really no damage here, but you've been shown where you let fear or anxiety or subconscious anger get in the way of having strong faith in yourself. You've been shown. So as the week continues, if you have a hard time having faith in your company, it's not even your company. Let's say you're working for your boss. They're not treating you well. You don't know if you're going to get a bonus or not. So does that mean you don't have faith in the world because the company is letting you down? I see Scorpios do that all the time. They get stung by one thing and they just apply it to the whole category. Like, oh, all of you, because Scorpios are all or nothing, this all of you is not faith worthy. So you're going to practice this week having faith in yourself and seeing if you end up having faith in the world. And if you don't have faith in the world, it means you don't have faith really in yourself. All right. Take a sip of this one. I'm reading comments. All right. They're all somewhere in the conversation. It's not about me. All right. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you last week were, and this new moon on Monday, that was last Monday, you were coming into integrity with taking decisions and being your own leader. Now, you've always been your own leader, but you don't always make the hard call for yourself. Got to say. And so you may decide but not follow through, or you may never decide, so you don't have to follow through. But when it comes to sticking to a commitment to yourself, you see now if you can or can't. And I know Sagittarius can do both. I know Sagittarius can't. I know Sagittarius can. So it's the whole spectrum. If you can make a decision for yourself and back it up with following through with it, then you're going to see your career start to bloom this week and start to create all sorts of opportunities, flowers, spin-offs, other ways of making the money. So you're going to see a lot of potential there. If you cannot keep a decision with yourself and stay true to yourself, you're going to find that your company lets you down, that your assistant lets you down, that your mailman lets you down. All the things are now not being true to you as a reflection of how you are to you. Remember, Virgo is a hyper-aware manifestation, is I become. So it manifests immediately right in our face. So be on the side of being responsible for you, and people will be responsible to you and not throw you under the bus or ghost you or not follow through, the words I'm looking for. Now, the opposition at 16 degrees on Sunday says, Sagittarius must be both happy in their career and happy in their home. Both. It's not one or the other. Sacrifice the family for the career. Sacrifice the career for the family. Your heart must love being at home. Your heart must love on your path and where you're going. If either is off, make sure that you put them both on the same page. This is a very powerful line to mess up, okay? Should never mess up a line between the 4th house and the 10th. The Venus in Libra last week was again showing you where you throw yourself under the bus in society. In other words, let's say you're at the moms group and they're like, oh, no one is volunteering to do the toilet paper, to bring toilet paper on the camping trip. And the Sag will be like, all right, I'll do it, because they'll see that no one's doing it. And they'll force themselves to go get the toilet paper for the camping trip. And they're only doing it because they're worried about their daughter, they're worried about their son, they're worried about the person who's involved in that. But they really don't want to go do that toilet paper run. So you were shown last week how if you don't put yourself in the right limelight in society, society will take your cue and run with the false light. They'll be like, oh, well, that person's always toilet paper. They do such a good job. And now suddenly you're the toilet paper expert because you're being a community person, but you were selling yourself under the bus and not throwing yourself under the bus and not being on true with your heart as a result. So if things go well in society this week, like cool, your friends are cool, your reputation is cool, you're getting a good review at work, then that means that you've been right to yourself when it comes to society. If society goes south on you, or you have a lot of trouble in the public, it means you've pushed yourself out to do some toilet paper job that you don't really want to do or be. All righty, we're getting close here. Capricorns. This is a little bit more elusive, Capricorn, a little more difficult to talk about. The new moon at 11 degrees said to Capricorns, you have to believe in yourself on your own. You can't do it with proof. You can't do it because you've got these numbers and these sales and this history and this resume and all the times you hit a home run. Sorry, you cannot have belief in yourself based on outer evidence. Belief in yourself must be only on inner evidence of what your heart says you believe in. So the new moon basically said to you, you got to love yourself and love yourself some more and believe in yourself on your own. All right. If you did believe in yourself on your own, you'll find that doors just start opening for you as far as what your belief about the future is. So I believe in myself and I believe that something's going to just pop out of nowhere. If you do believe in yourself, then something will pop out of nowhere. If, however, you don't believe in yourself and you say, God, I really want to believe in this school. I really want to believe they're doing good. You'll never believe that they're doing good. You'll never be convinced no matter how much evidence that you see, because if you don't believe in yourself at the core, you won't believe anything or anyone, or at least you won't believe the important things. Okay. Now, the opposition to Saturn has to do with your mind at 16 degrees. Your belief must come from an open heart. You believe it because your heart is telling you, yes, it's true. Your mind must also have the same attitude that your mind is going to have. I have no reason to doubt. Your mind has no reason to argue. Your mind has no reason to throw in other evidence, because if you have an open heart and your thoughts, if you have an idea and your heart is open, then that means that that idea is coming from the heart and the mind is recognizing that idea and running with it. So you have to make sure that your ideas are behind your heart and your beliefs are behind your heart. Then we have Venus in Libra. Last week, Venus was revealing to you all the bad decisions you have made for yourself in the last year. It was a tour of failures as far as you were concerned, because you go that strong. And you were shown where you really should have decided to go to the dentist at that time. You should have really decided to go ahead and cash out that 401k. You really should have decided to get out of that, Tesla stock. And you should have, but you didn't. So you realized in the last week where you make the wrong call for yourself, probably because you're trying to impress someone other than yourself, right? Impressed to work for you, impressed to buy your products, right? It's not just flattery. You've got a sale behind that. But now, if you really accept yourself for all your sins and that you made a mistake and you really are honest with yourself of where you have been piss poor at making decisions, then I believe this next week for career is going to be bang on. A lot of creative ideas coming in, a lot of leads, a lot of possibilities, a lot of potential sales. If, however, you're saying to yourself, you're lying to yourself and you're not owning and opening up to the truth of where you've made bad decisions for yourself, then I think you're going to have a lot of closed doors. You're going to hear a lot of no's. You're not going to make the sales as you're hoping for, and look at your career to see whether or not you're really aligned with yourself. All right. Aquarius. Aquarius, you were called to get on the side of integrity with drawing a boundary with yourself and following up with it. So, it's like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to eat any salt for a week. And then you're like, you drew a boundary and you didn't enforce it. So this new moon was saying, you've got to draw lines that are based on the heart. And if they're based on the heart, they'll be easy to follow up. If you draw a line that's not based on the heart, like my heart loves salt, you're not going to be able to stop the salt because your heart loves the salt. You can't stop something. We're not meant to stop something our heart wants. We're not meant to. You probably can. That's what most of us do. So you sort of calibrated your integrity by the zero line of love. Like, I'm going to draw my lines with myself based on love. Do I have to go to bed at 5? No, that's not very loving. I want to have fun. What would be loving? Let yourself sleep to, go to bed at 10. And that's loving because you get the sleep you want and you get to watch the junk TV. So find that line of calibration of drawing the lines based on what your heart says. If you do that, then this week, you're going to see a lot of things coming together and a lot of bad things falling away, because the integrity of your lines for yourself, then help you to empower what's right in the world and what's not. If you're not sure about being in love with yourself and the lines you draw with yourself, and you're not in integrity that each line is the best thing for me and I know it, then as you go out there and have to make calls like, oh, how much are you going to spend on this? How far are we go with that? Should we remodel the house and the garage? Those decisions of drawing the lines will be murky, messy, and you'll be disappointed with them later because you were going out there drawing lines with a shitty ruler. I went and stopped myself and I went ahead. Because your ruler wasn't good inside of yourself as really using it with your heart, then your ability to judge where to draw a line is very off, and you're frankly dangerous because it's not calibrated. Now, Venus in Libra has to do with believing in yourself. Last week, up to 10 days, God Universe has been showing you where you will believe in yourself and then not, believe in yourself and then not, believe in the not. And you may go, how does that happen? You believe in yourself and then your mind starts talking you out of it. That's how it happens. You allow another part of yourself to talk yourself out of it. So the universe was showing you, look at how you will let parts of yourself talk yourself out of full on believing in yourself. So if you come to realize and go, yes, that's the problem. I'm really not believing in myself. I own it. I'm going to totally take it to the bank. Yes, I accept there's these problems with believing in myself. I accept it's an issue. Then everything you go off to on your story this week will be in integrity. The next thing you believe will be true. The next thing you find will be true. The next research you do will be true. If you are not in believing yourself 100% on I love myself some more, then as you go through the week, you will find that you don't know what to trust here. You don't know what to believe there. You don't know what to believe when that person says. So you'll be doubting everything. If you doubt everything this week or doubt lots of things this week, it's because you don't really believe in yourself. It's a reflection of that truth. If you, on the other side, find that you are just falling in love with these new ideas and just taking it off to new potential, and your beliefs are just going in all these directions, it's probably based on the fact that you did love yourself, because now you can really believe in these next things that will take you to the next place you want to go. We are just off in the chat here. Iggy's talking about hybridization program DNA. Great. Pisces. We did Aquarius already, right? Yeah, belief in self. There we go. Pisces. Pisces, yours are very interesting. I've been running into a lot of Pisces lately, which is rare. You guys are usually hiding or swimming somewhere else. But I've been noticing this right away. Pisces are getting into integrity with themselves. They're finally starting to come into that they're going to love themselves and love themselves some more. They're not going to worry about the karma. They're not going to worry about the empath energy they're picking up on others. They're going to put themselves first in relationships. And so if you on the new moon were not really loving yourself and putting yourself first, you might have had some stuff go down with a relationship. You might have someone boycott you or talk you down or any kind, just trouble in love, trouble in relationships, even relationships you're a boss. So it's really important to, in everything you do, make sure you are loving yourself first and loving yourself some more first, and then go on to do something for someone else. And if you do that, you're going to find this week that relationships go smoothly. If relationships do not go smoothly this week, then we know it's not going smoothly with you at the core. Now, we have the square to Jupiter, which is feelings and emotion. And so you have, one thing about Pisces is, this is so weird that they use the mind to articulate their feelings. But because you use your mind, you think about your feelings. It's like you're a philosopher about your feelings. You're like, and I've known Pisces, they'll go off on this philosophy and I'll be like, but how do you feel? You just went off in this diatribe. You sound like a hero in a film going off on a monologue, but what do you really feel? And so Pisces can talk themselves into stuff that they don't really feel. Their mind sees the logic and they buy it. And so because they're a Pisces that's reflective of reality, Virgo, they'll actually, their own mind's thoughts will fool them to say this is how they're feeling, when really what you're feeling are your thoughts. You're feeling your thoughts coming back to you. So the point is that you must now, when it comes to your feelings, they must be completely in alignment with how you treat yourself. If you don't feel good, then you're not treating yourself very well. Okay. And vice versa. If you feel really good, then you might actually be doing good with your relationship to yourself. So your emotions are checking whether or not you are a good person to yourself, is what it says. Now, the opposition to Saturn is in your sign, which is your character, the way you behave, etc. The universe is saying you must have an open heart with how you behave. You must have an open heart with every time you return the ball. You must always have an open heart when you take action. And that's also shown by having Leo in your 6th house as a backup of that. So what's going to happen this week is you're going to realize that you may not be nice to yourself in the background, the mirage, which is causing you to not be nice in the world, and vice versa. You not being nice to yourself when you're out there in the world might be making you beat yourself up in your mirage and in the background. So your behavior in the world must match your behavior with yourself, and both behaviors must be loving. And then, of course, Venus. And Venus in Libra for you showed you last week how crappy you are with drawing boundaries with yourself and keeping to them. And we all knew that now, didn't we? Pisces are not great with boundaries. It's because they're so fluid with them. They can sort of get into a spot that other people won't get into because they're so loosey-goosey with their boundaries. That's fine with others. But basically, Venus says you've got to be fair, honest, open, true to where you are either lying to yourself or letting yourself down or not following through or falling into laziness, whatever the case is. You now know where the problems are. So if you accept and receive, yes, those are my problems. I've got a problem. Then as Venus goes in this next chapter, which is all the boundaries to other people, you'll know exactly where the boundaries need to go with them because you will have learned where you failed with yourself. If, however, you go into Pisces denial and go to the bar and drink, sorry, but that's the cliche, and you don't really accept that you are bad with the boundaries, then you're going to be sloppy with all your boundaries with other people, and you're going to make more of a mess than good as Venus continues to go on, and probably get yourself into some quagmires or some situations. So Pisces are really coming to their own right now, and integrity, loving yourself and loving yourself some more, is the way to make sure that happens. All right. That felt like a time warp. I was somewhere else the whole time. I don't know where I was. It's been that way all week, and that's what I was going to say. This whole week, I've been in and out of reality. I've been feeling, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm watching myself at a minute. Are you guys having it? Tell me in the chat if you're in and out of reality. I'd like to know. In the meantime, we're going to have a little intermission. And when I come back, we're going to have Binaural Beats and Karen Newell here to talk about how you can meditate with the power of some certain technologies. Keep streaming. We'll be right back. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, September 7th to Friday, September 13th, 2024. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, after a bumpy road in the Virgo consciousness, I'm glad to report that things will smooth out and will be a relaxing weekend. On Saturday, it's sunny and feeling rather safe. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. It's a creative resting and receiving day. Time to soak in that rest, that nutrition, and that sun. The sun, though, is opposing Saturn, so through the course of the day, you may go back and forth about what your highest spiritual purpose is. It's time to become relaxed and realize there's a power shift in your life. And with the moon in Scorpio, you're feeling safe. On Sunday, it's sunny and honest. Step 16 means Neptune rules the day. This Neptune rule day means that this is a balanced day. You have the spirit and you have the Virgo both. I become faithful is the net result, and you are refining how you feel about certain things, and that moon in Scorpio sure does help. Now looking ahead at the 5-day week forecast, looking at the arc of the week, you commit, you take action, and you manifest a new reality. That means that your daily lifestyle will probably change, and it's most likely for the better. On Monday, it's sunny and sensual. Step 17 means Saturn rules the day. This will be a bit of a serious day. That's why I become boss. You're actually raising the vibration of love inside yourself. And with Mercury entering the Virgo, you're starting to get focused on the details about yourself. Emotions do shift during the day. It starts off a bit closed with the moon in Scorpio, but then things open up and get optimistic as the moon moves into Sag. And then on Tuesday, we predict sunny and delightful. Step 18 means Mars is ruling the day, so you are charging ahead to get things done and to implement that new reality. You are becoming very animated, and it's time to love yourself in a mindful way, otherwise you may feel a little lost. And with the moon in Sagittarius, your emotions are processing the next chapter in your story. And then on Wednesday, hump day, it's cloudy and tense. Step 19 means that Earth rules the day, so you are becoming a little uncomfortable as you manifest this new reality. Venus will sextile Mars, which means divine feminine and divine masculine will be talking and on both sides, and emotions will shift to Sirius as the moon crosses the galactic center and shifts into Sirius Capricorn. On Thursday, it's cloudy and sticky. Step 20 means the moon rules the day. And thank goddess the moon's in Capricorn, placing a kibosh on any ridiculous passion. But it also means you might be feeling a little squeezed in. It's time to become shifted. You're going to the higher dimensions of I become. And it's also time to get on the side of your heart if you're not feeling really good. The sun, however, will square Jupiter on this day, which means you may have to have a little argument between what your heart wants and what your mind wants. And you should know by now, the winner must be the heart. And then on Friday, it's sunny and confident. Step 21 means it's starting to get fun. Jupiter rules the day, so you are expanding your options for what's possible when it comes to the future and feeling expanded. You're also opening to new ideas. And with the moon in the late stages of Capricorn, about to cross Pluto, you're feeling that these commitments may be a major change of power.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and innovative influencers of our time. Here on The Mingle, I'm always seeking a better way to connect to my subconscious and higher self and beyond. And tonight's guest has pioneered a way through the power of sound. Karen Newell is an author and specialist in personal development with a diverse body of work that rests upon the foundation of spiritually transformative experiences. As an innovator in the emerging field of brainwave entrainment audio meditation, we'll learn about that. Karen empowers others in their journeys of self-discovery by demonstrating how to connect to inner guidance, achieve inspiration, improve wellness, and develop intuition from a heart-centered consciousness. She's the co-founder of Sacred Acoustics and co-author with Eben Alexander III, MD, of Living in a Mindful Universe. At international workshops presented by Dr. Alexander, Karen demonstrates key practices of consciousness, exploration, heart awareness, intention, maintaining neutrality, emotional management, and cultivating internal knowing. She can be found along with her innovative sound recordings on her website, sacredacoustics.com. Please join me in sending waves of love and gratitude to my guest today, Step 11 Sagittarius, Karen Newell. Hello.
Thank you, Christopher. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. And I had the pleasure of meeting your business partner, life partner, alien partner, Dr. Eben Alexander III, earlier last year. It seems earlier in our season. And the two of you are just two peas in a pod as far as you complement each other with, extraordinary. But you've been on this journey yourself way before meeting him. Is that correct? How did you, being an 11 Sag, I know you're a curious cat. How did you begin down this journey in your life? How did you find yourself on this path?
Well, you pegged me quite succinctly. I have always been curious, and not just about the little questions, but the big questions. Also very Sagittarian. I wanted to know, all about truth, capital T truth. Why are we here? What is our purpose? And those answers, they don't really exist in a way that is very satisfying, right? You really have to go on the journey to find out for yourself. And I discovered that, yes, you need to take a journey to find these answers. And at first I had a lot of trouble with this sort of thing, because it involves meditation. Anytime you want to go on any kind of personal journey or take any courses, you're always going to be asked to meditate. And this was very hard for me. I didn't know when people would say, oh, I was walking by a stream and this, and I would be like, what is going on? Because I didn't have anything going on except conversations I wanted to be having or conversations I'd already had. And it was really sound that helped me to quiet the mind and really turn that corner to build a foundation of really how to do this. And the sound I listened to at first was things like tuning forks, gongs, crystal bowls, brass bowls, anything that kind of makes this steady sound is very helpful. But it's when I found binaural beats. Those are very specific recordings created using digital frequencies. And these are what really helped me to turn the corner, to quiet the mind and really identify with that, what I call inner observer or your soul perspective, that higher self you were just talking about.
So what are binaural beats more specifically? Were they available in the analog world, for instance? They weren't available until we had digital and the ability to do digital processing. Is that
well,
true?
I think they did create them way back then. And at first, back in the 60s, when they were created in the 1960s, they were put on cassette tapes. So that's the analog world. And it was later that when digital frequencies were created, or the ability to make digital frequencies, that you could really get very, very specific with what you were doing with these frequencies. So basically, binaural beats are when you hear one frequency in one ear, a slightly different frequency in the other ear, and the difference between those two frequencies aligns with a brainwave state. So 0 to 4 hertz is delta when you're sleeping. Everyone's heard of delta waves. That's when you're asleep. 4 to 7 hertz, that's theta, and that's really a meditative state. Alpha is 7 to 12 hertz. That's a very focused state. 12 to 30, the beta state, that's what we're in right now. We're walking, we're talking, we're not really focused on anything. But getting to that space between awake and asleep, we call that the hypnagogic space. Well, science calls that the hypnagogic space. Right around 4 hertz between delta and theta is a nice sweet spot. So many of our frequencies have, maybe 100 hertz in one ear, 104 hertz in the other ear. That creates the binaural beat. And they sound very similar to crystal bowls and brass bowls. They make this kind of wah, wah, wah sound. And so those kind of instruments I learned are actually creating musical binaural beats, but not quite as specific as you can attain using computer software.
Huh, interesting. So you were saying already some instruments are that way, built that way. What's the term?
Binaural.
Binaural.
Two
neurons.
Ears. Yeah, different sound in each ear. Yeah, that's all it means.
Yeah, totally. So there have been instruments through time that sort of naturally had that harmonic, is what you're saying, or would have a little.
Yeah, they do have that harmonic. And when you have, I think with the bowls, it's when the sounds are bouncing off the two sides of the bowl, the circle. Gotcha. And then in tuning forks, you have one tuning fork on one side, the other tuning fork on the other side. It was actually tuning forks was when the original binaural beats were discovered back in the 1800s by a Prussian physicist named Wilhelm Dove. He figured this all out. Almost 200 years ago, 150 years ago. So,
what was he using it for back in that time?
I think he was studying how you can alter your brainwave state, honestly. And I think it was the 1950s, they were studied even more, 1960s, 70s. And they discovered scientifically that they help reduce anxiety, they help people with focus, they help people sleep, lots of different applications.
Because you're basically vibrationally seducing your brain into that frequency, basically.
Well, I love the way you say that. But Eben, who is a neurosurgeon, he would say, I love that you're seducing the brain, but you actually, what you're doing is you're seducing the lower brainstem, the most primitive part of the brain. You're sort of monotonizing that function to take attention away from the outer surface of the brain, which is where all your thinking takes place. So you're really activating the most fundamental, primitive part of your consciousness.
And what do you feel is capable at that moment? Is once it's activated and stimulated, are there intentions that are being implanted in that, or is it simply a reset, like a reboot?
Well, first of all, everyone's brainwaves are different. They are actually as unique as fingerprints from one person to the next. So everyone is going to respond in slightly different ways. So keep that in mind if you're someone who's tried this or is going to try it. So there's a wide range of responses. Some of us are more sensitive than others, and some of us are not. And so when you listen, the idea is that you're quieting the mind, and from there you're able to have this kind of inner focus, like in deep meditative states. And that is where you might set an intention that's related to a particular personal goal. And some people listen just to sleep or get focused. They just listen to them in the background. Some people listen to our theta waves and do meditative practices that they already have. But we have many recordings that we call sound journeys that kind of take you on a journey into that deeper awareness right away. And then we might sprinkle in some theta and alpha to kind of wake you up. And it's kind of like getting into a really relaxed state and then entering sort of like a lucid dream where you're aware of what's going on, but you're getting there from an awake state instead of a sleep state.
Interesting. So What do you personally experience in those states?
Well, when I first started listening, I honestly, I'll just tell you, I would just fall asleep. And this is what
That's kind of
happens
what's gonna happen to me.
yeah, that's what happens to a
Just because
lot of
my
us.
mind never gets a rest. It's like, oh, so like,
Exactly. And that you're exactly right. Many of us, we're not getting enough sleep. So as soon as we
yeah.
hear these tones, it's like, oh, it's such a relief. But then once you become accustomed to them, it took me weeks, a few months of regular listening
Mm,
to become accustomed to them and be able to stay, hover between that body being profoundly relaxed, but the mind is awake and alert. And so at first, when I would listen, after I was able to maintain awareness, I would set intentions. I would, try to do different things, find out what my purpose is, ask questions about maybe have I had a past life, things like that. And at
mm.
first, after I was able to stay awake, I would just start crying, and I learned I was tapping into emotions that hadn't been properly processed. So I went through a time of sort of allowing myself to become emotional, knowing that these emotions were released. This was what I was guided to do by an instructor. And boy, was she correct, because once I was able to kind of get past the, oh my gosh, I'm not a good person, or I'm not good enough, whatever those little things we say to ourselves, then I was able to get to the essence of who I truly am. And that part of all of us, it has no judgment. It doesn't tell you that you're not good enough. It actually just observes. And it's a wonderful perspective to tap into. And these recordings have helped me to do that.
Mm. It sounds like it relaxes. I mean, I see this in astrology, watching the astrological cycles. There are cycles. I mean, in a way, the planets are binaural themselves. They create these frequencies that I think awaken and put us to sleep also, or activate conscious waves, or deactivate conscious waves. And so there are, astrologically, when we have like a moon go through the 12th house, it's kind of similar. It's like it creates energetically opens us up. And if there's anything repressed that we have hidden from, it tends to spew up at that point. So what you found here is a way to, go beyond the transit and sort of activate and release. And do you find that all your clients go through, you know, let's say a blue Tuesday before a happy Thursday?
Many do, but it
Yeah.
really depends. What have you done already on your journey?
Right.
Some
Yeah.
people already have experience doing that, have been to therapy.
Right.
Others are just starting out, and those are those beginners who are never meditated before, never listened to binaural beats. Those are the people that would want to pay attention to those kind of early possible things that might happen. But some people listen, and the first time they listen, they're like having an out of body experience. And
Wow.
so it just really just depends. And that kind of makes some people nervous, but others are very excited about that. And so there's all kinds of possibilities. But having an out of body experience involves getting into the hypnagogic state, using your intention to activate your energy. So it's binaural beats can be used to support that and many other types of spiritual adventures.
Have you had out of body from it yourself?
I have. Was I listening actively to? I think I was trying to have out of body experiences using the recordings, but I was actually successful while not listening to the recordings. But I believe that they helped me to practice and get there. And I spent a lot of time listening to certain binaural beats recordings at night. And that's when it was recommended to listen to certain things so that you could, in the middle of the night, maybe activate an out of body experience. So yeah, I have used them in combination with other techniques.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've had one through dream state. That's just it. Yeah. That's fascinating. And what do you find are the long-term benefits of meditation? I mean, you're approaching it from a very scientific perspective, which is cool. And we've always heard it from a spiritual perspective, like, ain't gonna talk to Jesus unless you meditate. What happens from your perspective with long-term meditation habits?
Well, from my perspective, you really do learn how to quiet the mind and learn how to not control, lots of people use that word, but manage
Mm,
those
yeah.
thoughts that are going on, that self-negative talk, the kind of ridiculous things going through your mind.
Mm,
Long-term benefits really help you to be able to put that nonsense aside and really focus on what's more important, which is what your personal goals are and what you'd like to achieve. So
okay. Excellent. Yeah. So managing the mind ultimately. is
Yes.
being able to manage the mind. And well, I think a lot of us are living with our mind managing us. So
And don't forget, it's also managing your emotions. So it's managing your mind and your heart. I always have to bring that in.
yeah, I would, well, all consciousness really, it all centers
Yes.
up. Yeah, it all centers up there. So what is brainwave entrainment then? How's that fit into sacred acoustics?
Okay, so brainwave entrainment is the term for while you're listening to the binaural beats, the brain then has a what they call a frequency following response. So your brain is entrained to the sounds that you're listening to. And so when you put on those delta signals, when you put on those delta signals, you're able to fall asleep more quickly in many cases. I just had a customer write to me that said, we had a little issue with our app and all the delta frequencies were unavailable. And these people were writing in, oh my God, I listen every night for sleep. What happened to them? And we fixed it right away. But it was nice to see how people really rely on them for just sleeping and focusing and so on.
So what's the difference between neurofeedback and entrainment then?
Well, neurofeedback, that's when you might have, I think HeartMath has a little thing you can put on your ear. There's other things you can put on your finger, and it's measuring, say, your heart rate variability, your pulse, and other physiological responses. So neurofeedback is letting you know in real time what is going on in your brain. I know HeartMath had some software that I would, watch in real time what was going on with my heart, and I could see the successes I was having in real time. So that's neurofeedback. But binaural beats, we don't have anything that gives you that feedback except for your own kind of sense of response from it all.
Okay. So that's really like training yourself to go there without the binaural.
Yes, in fact, it's like, well, these are like training wheels, I call them.
Got you.
Because to be honest, I don't listen to binaural beats as much as I used to because I don't need them. I'm able to get into states. Other people, though, like Eben, he listens every day. He's listening right now. He cannot get enough of listening to these frequencies. But we know why. So he's a what do we call it? A cosmonaut, conscious explorer, whatever we call that. Psychonaut. That's what they call it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out there on the edge of space time for sure. How has your vision of spirituality evolved from this access? Have you had, for instance, opening up to psychic awareness or connection to the angelic realm or any type of being connection from a result of these binaurals?
Well, I would say that it's really empowered me to understand I'm in the driver's seat. No one else is in the driver's seat. Some other beings, entities, whatever, higher self, whatever you want to call it, guides, they may be feeding me, guidance and information, but I'm in the driver's seat. And I think in the scientific worldview of materialism, free will is an illusion, according to that brand of science. But I know I have free will because I'm making the choices in the moment and creating my experiences. And I have had openings to telepathic experiences, precognitive sorts of things. I spent a lot of time learning remote viewing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I would listen to the first teacher I had for remote viewing would have us listen to binaural beats while we were doing the exercises. And at first I thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm such a, what did we call ourselves? Left brain people, analytical people, and I was incorrect. I can do it. And what they say is we all can if we put our time to it. So remote viewing, in case your listeners don't know what it is, the way I did it was they would put a photograph into an envelope and then write usually a 6 or 8 digit number on the outside of that envelope. All of us in the course, we would get into that meditative state, write down that number, and then whatever impressions come to you, hot, cold, what colors, inside or outside, water or dry, you kind of just start going through, getting a sense, and you write down all these little fragments. You might draw a circle or a wave or whatever kind of shape you're feeling. And then after about 15 minutes or so, the instructor would take the picture out of the envelope and we would all see, oh my gosh, we drew or sensed what was in that envelope. And I had enough successes with that I realized absolutely, yes, I have this capability. And it's kind of funny to me. We were at a family gathering not so long ago, and someone who's very scientific minded, and of course there's lots of them out there, but likes to challenge us on these kinds of things. And he told me, oh, he picked remote viewing. He said, oh, remote viewing, that's been debunked. That's been debunked. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, really? Has it been debunked? Please tell me how. And, you know, it's something I've done for myself. And that's why I wanted to do these things for myself. I wanted to see, is it real? I learned how to, you know, remote view, healing touch for animals, out of body, all of those kinds of things. So,
yeah. Fascinating. And now at this stage of kind of being able to go there automatically, are those tools that you find yourself using in modern day life?
you know, what I do in modern day life most of the time is I remain an open channel to the energy of love.
Okay.
So when I'm out in the world and I'm interacting with strangers, you know, in stores and things like that, I am very consciously radiating the love that's inside of me. And it is so delightful to see how people respond, because I'm doing it kind of automatically. And people are they're not used to that, generally speaking. And so I developed these wonderful rapports with service people and whoever might be assisting me with something out in the world. And I think it makes a difference. And I try, when I'm interacting with people, I'm very present for them. I'm focused on what they're saying. I'm interested in what they're saying. I'm responding. I'm not thinking about my own things. I have this ability now to put all of my own things aside and really focus on who I'm with and what do they need? What would be helpful to them in this situation? And usually it's kindness. And kindness is something that comes very easily to me now, because I have dealt with all of, well, I can't say all, but I've dealt with many, many of my emotional triggers. A lot of times when we have responses to things and we blame some kind of external stimulus, it's really just something inside of us that leaves us vulnerable to that reaction. And so I've learned through all of these kinds of things to not be emotionally reactive. Now, am I successful 100% of the time? I can't claim that. I still have my moments. Look what's going on in the world around us, right? But it's much, 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 much less than it used to be. And that is probably the biggest benefit. I call it getting on the roller coaster when you know, just, we won't talk about politics, but the political stuff, you can get on the roller coaster and you can be like really, really happy. And then suddenly you're really, really sad. And so I decided long ago, don't get on the roller coaster. Pay attention, but don't let your emotions get sucked up into something that you have no ability to manage. You can only manage your own emotions. So staying off that kind of roller coaster, as I call it, has been incredibly helpful.
Interesting. And going back to the love, I mean, you experimenting, I'm wondering what kind of responses you get. Is this what you mean by heart-centered consciousness when you talk about?
Yes, exactly. And I learned all this from HeartMath. The Institute in Northern California has been studying the heart for decades. And the heart is actually emanating an electromagnetic field all the time. Right now, both of our hearts are doing this. Everyone who's listening, this is what it does. And so it expands and contracts around your body based on your emotional state. And they've discovered that it actually affects people around you. And potentially you're gathering information, bringing it into your heart. And the heart actually sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So the heart is incredibly important and seems to have this sort of autonomic function. And so I tried to take that very seriously. And I thought, well, I don't want to affect people around me with my emotional stuff. That's my emotional stuff. And so as I cleared all of that out, I decided I am only going to emanate helpful, beneficial energy. And that is what I decided to do after learning from HeartMath how the heart's electromagnetic field works. And I actually call it the ultimate golden rule to only, share your positive heart energy with others is, what I would want coming back to me, right? Do unto others as you would have done unto you. And, we've all walked into rooms where someone's energy just isn't quite right and maybe isn't resonant with ours, I'll say. And that's our heart fields interacting, and we sense that. So it's a very useful thing to know about and be aware of. And yeah, that's what I mean by heart awareness, consciousness, just knowing that that's going on, and then having an intention to make it better.
Well, you're speaking my language, because it's what we teach here at Serious Joy. Is, for one, though, I think that can't happen unless there's self-love there as an underlayer, because I was born, codependent, trying to keep my parents happy. So I learned very early on how to send my love field out and sort of pull people into my love field, which you could say I do right now on this show. In fact, I think that love field even skips space time. I could swear I've had that love field interacting with guests, right, across through space time. But I also learned that I can really wear myself out doing those fields of love if I'm not loving myself really deeply at the core. So I burn out quick. But I can pull in a large group of people. What have you seen with experimenting with love fields? I mean, have you tell us
that's a really important observation. Before you're really able to send that love out like I'm talking about, you got to be able to generate it confidently from within, because that's where you're drawing from. And at first I couldn't do this either. I had my own way, own failed relationships and divorced families and all of that. And I was very confident in my ability to be independent and that I didn't need people to love me because they weren't right. I didn't need that. And so I shut it down too. I think many of us do that. And so that's what I would run into, I think, when I would get emotional first, when I would get to these deeper states, that I really didn't know how to manage my emotions. So it was scary. It was a little scary at first. But then I learned, and I learned this through heart math, is that a really key practice is to generate feelings of gratitude. Thoughts of gratitude are one thing, but generate a feeling. What does it feel like when you're grateful? And so I practiced doing this for many weeks. And at first it was pretty challenging. But once I was able to break through, it was actually thoughts and memories of puppies that helped me get to that feeling. And once I was able to get there, it was quite simple to use reference points from the past to generate these feelings of gratitude. So this thing about self-love, this is something that I had a lot of trouble with myself. It was something that didn't come easy to me because I had my own kind of personal issues throughout my life. And I had considered myself very independent and that I didn't need someone to love me. And of course, that just blocked me off from being able to receive love. But it also affected my ability to properly give love because I wasn't tapping into my own reserve of unconditional love. And all of us are connected to this. I call this our birthright. We all came from this amazing energy of unconditional love. And that's what we return to when we die. And so we can tap into that by generating feelings of gratitude. This is sort of the foundational practice that we highly recommend, even while you're listening to the recordings, because when you create that feeling of gratitude, it's very challenging for other, less positive emotions and energy to come along.
Yeah, I always say gratitude is the attitude of receiving, because I find that the only way to quiet the ego to actually take love in is to be grateful. That's where you completely bow, and allow. And I myself are similar. I used to, growing up for me, I keep on this light going out. So growing up for me, receiving love from my parents was dangerous. It often came with strings or pain. And so I learned early on not to receive love from others, but just to give love to others. And it took a long time. It was it was a girlfriend that was just like, I feel like you don't take my love in, and I realized for that moment, wow. But what opened it up full circle is just being grateful. Once I was grateful, my heart could take it. And of course there was crying and release because it had been pretty, holding on for a long time. So yeah, that gratitude goes a long way. And I love your point about you have to feel it. I think that's such an important point. And I think you have a Cancer moon, so you're really wise about emotional power, right? But people think it's in the mind, but it's really that you have to be in the vibration of it, right? Which resonates as a feeling as a human being.
So some people ask me, so what does it feel like? And it's kind of hard to describe because we don't have these kind of words in our language. What does it feel like when your heart is feeling gratitude? Well, some people use the word warm. I would say warm is one of the feelings that I would have. But I found that words that are used to describe light are very helpful when describing that feeling of love. So, shimmering or glistening or glowing is another nice word. When your heart feels like it's glowing. Or I go back to that Christmas Dr. Seuss cartoon, The Grinch That Stole Christmas. After he decided to return all the gifts that he had stolen, it said that his heart grew 3 sizes that day. And so you feel this sort of expansion of your heart. And that's the feeling when you're tapping into that gratitude. And you'll know it when you feel it. I know I did. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. It didn't matter that I didn't know the description of it. But some people ask me that. So that's a helpful way to kind of describe it.
It's hard to describe. To me, it feels like I'm kneeling. It feels like I bowed my head inside, like energetically I bowed my head.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. And then I can, because I bowed my head, I can feel all around me much greater and richer. Like it's like I'm listening to my moment or the present. I don't know. But yeah, these are esoteric, but we need words for these things, because this is our pathway to enlightenment, right? How does ancient spiritual texts end up working into your sacred acoustics? I know you've worked being the Sagittarius researcher. What ancient practices have you incorporated?
Well, the sound of Om is a pretty standard practice. And I got to say, nearly all Eastern religions, but especially the Hindu religion. And, all of the Vedic texts and all of the beautiful Sanskrit language that describes spirituality from way back in the past. Some people say that Sanskrit is a spiritual language and was developed actually to activate spiritual experiences through the frequency of the words. But I think saying the words isn't enough. You need to have a certain energy of how those words are coming out. It can't just be, rote memorization. I think they also need to be tapping into this energy we're talking about that starts with gratitude. But Om is something, the free 20-minute recording that we offer at sacredacoustics.com is our own frequencies. And many of the recordings start with this oming. And so we don't include it for religious reasons. We include it because when you make that sound, Om, you're actually creating a vibration in your own body. And Om, just saying that sound helps to calm your mind. Even that alone, without the binaural beats, will help to calm your energy field. So in combination, it really adds a nice sort of ability to interact with the frequencies, I'll say, because you're creating a frequency with your voice and you're feeling the vibration in your body and you're hearing the vibration of the sound. And so often we'll say that you can use that energy to sort of ride the vibrations into your experience. So.
I can add to that. I mean, I have been a practicing Buddhist for about 20 years, and there's a Sanskrit mantra that we just repeat over and over. And I would not have continued it had it not brought incredible peace and warmth over my body in about 11 minutes of chanting. And I was convinced it was the sound itself. I've just been convinced the sound itself is a gateway to, like a calm and opening up of the spirit. So I completely can say that's true for me. Om is also similar, but Om, it's different how different frequencies bring you to different places. Where do you feel Om brings us inside ourselves? Because it brings me somewhere. I just haven't figured out where. Where does it bring you?
Where, if you're talking about where, I would say it depends on the pitch of the Om that I'm chanting. So a lower pitched tone will bring me into my heart and my lower chakras. A higher pitched Om will bring me into the higher upper chakras. And so for me, it's not just the sound, but it's how I'm making the sound.
Can you Om higher than the crown, for instance? Is that possible? I've never even asked that question.
Haven't tried that. But, they say there's that, 9th and 10th, 8th, 9th and 10th chakra up here. So
they say that.
So. Yeah. And I have imagined my energy there. I have not done it in combination with the Om. So that's interesting. But I'm sure it's possible. And some people say there's different sounds for every chakra, but I haven't looked into that either. We pretty much stick with the foundational Om. But from there, we recommend people integrate any other spiritual practices that they're accustomed to, integrate that into listening with the tones. Some long-time meditators find that they go even deeper than they've ever been able to go before. Now, a caveat, some long-time meditators find the tones just get in the way because they already have, learned how to get to those spaces that they want to get to. So again, it's very unique from one person to the next.
Interesting. So let's flip topics for a second here and go to lucid dreaming. From what I'm understanding from your work, there are practices one can use to achieve lucid dreams. First, I guess we should say, what is a lucid dream?
Yeah. Well, a lucid dream is when you become aware while you're dreaming that you're dreaming. And so sometimes when we're having a dream, we don't realize, usually when we're having a dream, we don't realize we're dreaming. Many of us don't remember our dreams, except maybe right when we first wake up and we realize, oh gosh, that wasn't a dream. But when you wake up inside your dream, or not wake up, when you become aware that you're dreaming inside your dream, that's a lucid dream. And that's where you can then use your intention to create the experiences within your dream. And so this can be really useful. Many people, when they listen to our recordings, not all, again, will find that they're able to remember their dreams, or that their dreams become more vivid, or that they are able to have lucid dreams. Others find that they have unpleasant dreams. And that's where I would suggest that you consider that you may have stuff in your emotional field, like we've been talking about, that you might need to, I like to say that anytime you listen to these recordings, and that they will bring you to wherever your energy field wants you to go. And so some of us do have some things to clear up. Others, we're just ready to go. So it just depends on all the practices you might have had throughout your time before you come to this point. But I also want to point out, some people, there was a pilot study done in New York City, and it was published in February of 2020 in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease. And it was Dr. Anna Yusum, a psychiatrist in New York. She prescribed our recordings to her patients, a certain set of recordings. And then she had them fill out the state trait anxiety inventory, which is used in psychiatric research. And she found that after 2 weeks of listening, people had reduced their anxiety by 26%.
Wow.
Yeah. And her control group, by comparison, those were the people who just had their regular therapy but didn't listen at home to these recordings. And they saw a 7% reduction in anxiety. So from 7 to 26% just by adding these to your routine. And some of these folks, they were saying not just, anxiety reduced, but one guy had been in a toxic relationship for years, and suddenly he was able to get himself out of it. And I had that happen to me. I was in a toxic relationship, and it was through my spiritual growth that I really kind of shifted my vibration such that I was really just no longer able to interact with the person in the toxic relationship. So that may be part of what happened for this person. I don't know all of the details, but a medical student was getting better scores on her exams. She was getting better sleep. She was feeling much better about her studies. Lots and lots of benefits that people achieve. And these same exact recordings are available on our website. We call them the Whole Mind Bundle. And this Whole Mind Bundle, it used to cost more, but when the pandemic began, this study had just come out the month before. And so I made these recordings available to anyone at a reduced price and also free. And because there is still so much anxiety in the world, that offer still exists. So if you're in financial difficulty, there is no barrier. You can download those recordings. And with my gratitude for taking the time to really, work on your own personal growth, because I'm a true understander, I won't say believer, but an understander that our consciousness is all one. We're all connected. We're in these individual bodies, but we're connected through our consciousness, through our hearts, through our minds. And so knowing that we're connected in this way, anyone who takes the time to really look at their own consciousness has my gratitude, because you're not only helping yourself, you're helping all those around you. And so that is an important thing for each of us to do, really take it upon ourselves to explore within, find out what's there, find out, what is the meaning in my life? Why am I here? And those answers eventually come as long as you ask them from a sort of an authentic place.
Agreed. Talk to us about your superpowers, because a lot of our viewers are interested in this. You've developed capabilities in astral travel. You talked about, you said telepathy. You said remote viewing. I'd like to know about astral travel. Can you tell us, how did you develop these capabilities? Like, you set out to do it in your personal and professional life. Astral travel, I'm also very curious about. So that's different from remote viewing.
Well, this was all taking place in a 2.5 to 3 year period that I've taken to call my spiritual boot camp, because I was taking many, 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 many courses. I had a full-time job that I held for 25 years. I was still in that job, but I would do this during my vacation time in the evenings, afternoons. But it just takes practice. I learned techniques for astral travel. The main technique is really just imagining that your energy is moving in and out of your body in all different directions. We have a recording called Light Body, and it actually invites you to imagine your energy is going all the way out the top of your head to infinity, all the way back into your body, out the bottom of your feet to infinity, as far as it could possibly go, and then come back. And then imagine your energy is spinning all around your body. There's many other steps, but just imagining. And so Light Body is a recording that many people say helps them to achieve out-of-body experiences. I don't think it's only because of the specific frequencies and tones. I think it has a lot to do with the visualizations. And so as you're laying in bed each night, just imagine these things. My first out-of-body experiences seemed like a dream. So it happened while I was sleeping, and I was actually out of my body, looking down at my bed, the classic kind of out-of-body experience. And then I actually, in this experience, my body rolled out of the bed, and I realized, oh my gosh, that was a dream. I was dreaming that I was having an out-of-body experience. But I learned that no, it probably was a valid out-of-body experience. This is they first happen a lot of times in our dream space. I remember once I had one. This was after this, and it was while I was sleeping at night. But it was it right when I fell asleep, or when I woke up in the morning and then fell back asleep? It might have been when I woke up in the morning and then kind of drifted back to sleep. That's a very classic time to have very vivid dreams and out-of-body experiences for many people. But what happened was, I found myself at another home looking in the window, and I saw these children, kind of stair-step children, 4 of them, and I saw what the living room looked like. And this was kind of interesting. I logged it in my mind. I wrote it down. And several days later, my dog escaped. And when I went to go find my dog, I hadn't lived in this area for too long, and I didn't usually go the direction my dog had gone. But about 3 doors down was the scene of these children where I found my dog. They had, found my dog and had it up on the porch. And there were these children, and I could see in the living room. And I thought, oh my gosh, I must have looked into this home. Or potentially it was a precognitive experience. This is where these experiences get a little tricky, and they have a lot of overlap. So don't discount any of them, right? Write them all down. Eventually they start to make sense. And things that seem confusing at first can really get cleared up later on. Another, since you're interested, another challenge I had once with an out-of-body experience is that I got out of my body in my home. It was very intentional, laying in bed, doing the exercises, listening to the recordings. I got out of the body, but I couldn't move around very well. People don't talk about this, but I actually mentioned this to an expert out-of-body traveler later, and he said, oh yeah, that's happened to me before, but nobody ever talks about those kind of failed experiences. But I had a lot of trouble. I was trying to go down the stairs, and they talk about how when you're having an OBE, you can just go through walls. Well, I couldn't go through walls. I could barely go down the steps. And I think what that is that when your awareness is still remembering that it belongs in a physical body, you don't necessarily have the wherewithal to know how to move around without the body. And so I've been in lots of different kind of strange situations that weren't fully out of body, but I think this is part of just becoming more accustomed to it. So I don't know if you've had those kind of things happen, but I think they're all just part of the pathway of getting there.
Yeah, little moments where we kind of trick the matrix, or we sort of stumble upon the door. This might be a little too much information, but I went on a body the night I conceived my son.
Nice.
Yeah, it was quite a climax, like and it was a pretty powerful moment, undeniable, and then later to find out that was conception date makes me wonder if it's like because they say
A
the
soul
child
connection.
yeah, the child blows through you in that moment, and fertilizes. That's part of how the egg gets fertilized. Pretty amazing, but still an experience I cannot deny. And then my brother, who is a big meditator, there was an experience with a girlfriend where he showed up, astral body showed up at his girlfriend's house when he was actually in the bathtub meditating, and they came to the door and asked what he was doing, and it was like he's in the bathroom. So I've had some evidence of proof. I've in Autobiography of a Yogi, he writes about that as well. In regard to, I guess in India, there are many instances where yogis astral body will leave and even be seen by the people they're interacting with, and they're simply at home in a deep meditation. So it seems to be pretty well documented as possible.
I've had one of those as well, and I
Oh,
think
you have?
many of us have. Eben Alexander, Chris, we got married a couple weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations!
We
Yay!
did.
Wow.
We eloped, and we just
That's
went off
beautiful.
and got married. It was really fun. So
Yay!
yeah,
Yay!
for many years. But anyway, many years ago, Eben was traveling and I was at home, and he decided to he didn't tell me he was going to do this, but he's decided he was going to try and connect with me. And there was a moment in the evening where my dogs just started going bananas. I have two little
Wow.
dogs, and they started going barking, and I didn't know why. And I was like, what's going on? And I didn't see him, but I think they did, because he called me a while bit later, and he told me the time that he tried to do it, and it was the time when the dogs were barking. So
Wow.
but I believe my animals sensed his presence, and animals have a pretty uncanny way of sensing energy too. Lots of people will talk about their cat or their dog,
Yeah.
seeing things that they can't see. And sometimes they relate it to maybe relatives who have passed on and are maybe visiting.
Yeah.
It's so interesting what can take place.
You can see cats; they'll be like they're following something. You
are.
see them; they really do. Well, you bring up Dr. Eben Alexander. How did your collaboration with him begin?
Well, it began when we met, when we were both at a workshop exploring sound. So I had been doing it for a while. This was towards the end of my what I call my spiritual boot camp. But he was just beginning. He had started to see the potential of these recordings after his near-death experience, which I won't, people can look into that. But he learned about these recordings and thought, oh my gosh, I want to know if I can use those to explore within my consciousness. And so he wanted to go back to kind of the spiritual energy he felt during his near-death experience. That's why he was exploring these sounds. And so when I met him, I was at this workshop, a week-long workshop, with Kevin Cossey, who is the co-founder of Sacred Acoustics. Kevin and I had spent about a year making our own binaural beats. He's the audio engineer, but we would listen to them together, get on the phone, tell each other what happened. We were in two different locations. But when we met Eben, we asked if he wanted to try our recordings, because we were listening to someone else's binaural beats. And so it happened to be that Eben was in New York visiting publishers for his best-selling book, Proof of Heaven, before it came out. And Kevin is from Manhattan, born and bred New York City guy. And so they hooked up, and all three of us listened to a recording together, and one of our recordings, and then got on the phone and told each other about it. And we had Eben hooked up to our brainwave reading device and everything, that just reads the frontal lobe. So it's all very scientific. But when we got on the phone, he was blown away. He was like, oh my God, that's what he says. You got to make these recordings available to other people. And so that's what we did. And Eben kind of facilitated helping getting the word out about these recordings. And we have found many thousands of listeners who have benefited. And so we hope many more thousands can continue to benefit, because these kinds of tools make it easier for many of us to get into these expanded states. And it's not simple, especially with a Western mind, with our analytical brains and our doubts and our, that can't be real. Our dismissal of these kinds of events that's what our society does. And so we have to get past those limiting beliefs to even, get started. And that's what I had to do too. So anyway, we hope many, many more people can benefit.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm going to take advantage and try them myself. I haven't yet, because I haven't made the time to meditate, first of all. So that was the first step, like creating the space. But I'm well aware of what chanting has done for me, and the state has put me in, and the joy it's brought to me. So this, I think I need to get knocked out with beats.
Yeah. And, I talked about the kind of initial challenges, but the rewards for me, I would have these amazing experiences when I set my intention, when when all the stars aligned, probably, when it's a bad day for us astrologically, maybe we don't have as good of experiences. I think someone did a study once to check where certain planets were when these most cathartic experiences would take place. And they did find a correlation. I think that was Esalen out in California did that many years ago. But at any rate, we all have our moments when we can have these breakthroughs. And boy, I had this amazing experience once where I felt my crown chakra open and all this energy came booming into my heart. And I felt myself just grow into this amazing kind of energy. And at the same time, I had, oh gosh, I'm not telling the whole experience, but at the same time, I had 4 beings around me. And that week when I was kind of getting my connection with these 4 beings, I had come to realize they were my counsel, I called them. But what happened was, so I was in this experience and I went into this little house on some planet and the little house collapsed. I'm telling the short version. The little house, all 4 walls collapsed and there were my 4 beings standing there. And then there I was in the middle receiving this amazing love into my body. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is the 5th element, that movie. If anyone has seen the end of that movie, when the 4 elements, air, earth, water, and fire, and then the love vessel, it's a woman, the love vessel is in the middle. I reenacted that scene in a meditation, and I felt amazing. And that's the reward. After you kind of get this stuff out of your system and you work through those little things, not fun to do. Some people call it a dark night of the soul, where you really have to let go of your ego mind and, discover a new way of looking at the world. Some people have to go through that. But once you do, then you start to connect with that essence, that consciousness of who you are. And it is amazing, not just for me, but for every person on this planet. We all have that potential.
And you end up lifting up people around you. They notice things have shifted in you. You inspire them. What's changed in you? So it's you are helping the whole world too by doing it. And I think processing out, cleansing Mother Earth energy too. You're basically bringing peace where other energies are bringing chaos. What led you to writing Living a Mindful Universe with Dr. Eben Alexander? What led you to that book, and what do you hope that book does for people? Tell us about it.
Well, one reason we wrote it was really the drive that Eben had to include much, much more science in the story that he had to tell. His first book, the publisher really wanted to stick to the spiritual side of it and keep it really simple and clear, and it was very successful. The title was a little bit misleading because heaven is kind of a Christian word or a Abrahamic faith word, and his message is for everyone. There's no soul left behind in this message. And so Living in a Mindful Universe, he asked me to help him write that, to really bring the spiritual element, to marry it with the science. So he was incredibly versed on quantum physics and all of this memory and how the brain works and all of that. And I had spent a lifetime kind of exploring all the different spiritual traditions with an incredibly open mind. And so we brought those 2 things together. We really wanted to bring science and spirituality together in a way that really empowered people to realize they were in the driver's seat, which is how I began this, that we're all in the driver's seat. If you just realize you're not a victim of circumstance, you may be someone who has influences that you need to work with, right? But within those influences, you're in the driver's seat. And I think that's what astrology teaches us too, that there's sort of a blueprint from the day and location you were born. But within that blueprint, you have many, 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 many choices of how to respond. And so I am a firm, firm believer in that philosophy, and living in a mindful universe explains the science of it all, and then how and why it matters to each of us as individuals.
How is it a 33-day journey? Is it like a workbook in that sense that you take it with?
Well, the 33-day journey is an online, you go to the link that was just shown, ebenalexander.com/33 days, if you don't see it there, and enter your email address, and we'll send you an email each day for 33 days. And each email is one concept from the book, one simple concept, and they build on each other as you go. And along with those concepts, we include a daily practice. Sometimes it's contemplative or a specific meditative tool, but on certain days, we provide sacred acoustics recordings. So throughout the 33-day journey, starting on day 7, you'll receive 4 different recordings, no cost, it's all free. So you'll be able to not only learn about what's in the book, but you'll be able to experience the concepts firsthand.
That's great. I mean, how can you refuse? Let's talk about sacredacoustics.com. What can we find there? Where does one get started?
Well, the easiest thing to do is go look for the free download page on sacredacoustics.com. Enter your email. We'll send you a link to that free 20-minute Om recording. Okay. And from there, there's look for the training series, a series of free videos that kind of teach you how to get started, common concerns, how to set intention, some advanced techniques, also short, easily accessible. And on the website are many, many recordings that you can choose from. There's a page called I Want To, and there you can see all the different goals that someone might have, and we can point you in the right direction. But another good place to start is with that whole mind bundle that showed the 26% reduction in anxiety. Those recordings, there's a set of 9 recordings, very flexible, different lengths. Some have guidance, some don't. It comes with a little guide that teaches you best listening practices. That's the best place to start. And keep in mind that the contact form on sacredacoustics.com, I receive all of those emails directly, and I answer most of them, especially if they have to do with where should I start? I don't know what to do. And, I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have directly.
That's wonderful. and thoroughly, as 11 Sag, you're on top of your data.
I am thorough.
But there's also one last thing I want to bring up for everyone to know. You also do workshops around the world, so it's possible to work with you in person. Tell us about that.
Well, we've been doing much less of that since the pandemic. We did, but we traveled all over for a while, but we're not getting right back into the in-person. But we do have, we did a bunch of online courses just like everybody else did during the pandemic, and some of them are still available. You can go to innersanctumcenter.com. That's a website that Eben and I have together that has some of this content, some of the content that we created during the pandemic. And we actually host monthly Q&As on that site for those who sign up to be a member. So that's where you can get in touch with both Eben and I most directly.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for your time today. I'm going to try out your acoustic recordings myself and get back to you. And I hope that many of our subscribers go and check you out. Let us know how it goes.
Thank you. This has been a really great conversation, and thank you for all you do in the world to help bring these concepts to people. Very important.
Thank you. Well, I'm on your team. It's all about self-love and that heartfelt orb. So I'll be shining bright until we see each other next time. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Ciao for now. All right, folks, what a wonderful guest and a wonderful time. We're so grateful to have you. Let's talk about wrapping up Namaste today.
It's serious joy, joy, joy. Bye.
Yay, always a pleasure to be of service. And I really love her energy. And if you see, the next time we have her on, we're going to have her and Dr. Eben on at the same time. And if you remember Dr. Eben Alexander, he was the one that had a near-death experience. It was a neurosurgeon. The two of them are kind of cute, and they also come to like greater quantum things. So the new ASTRO Mingle coming out. We have a new version of our Astro coming out. I won't say when or what, but it will allow for more than one person on camera at the same time. Well, friends, it's that time to sort of say goodbye, but I do want to promote a few things that we have going on. First of all, LOL, Leading Out Loud, now has a new airtime every week. We're now Thursday afternoons. We're going after the talk show market. It'll be Thursdays, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, where we talk about things. And I can't remember what we're going to be talking about this week. I'm totally blank on it, but it's okay. We have so many different topics. If you haven't seen this show, please do. And by the way, I know most of you have not. Okay. So please watch it. I'd like to know your opinion. I'd like to know how you're doing. I'd like to bring it out for my partners there that will come. We're now on this exclusive LOL channel, which, by the way, you can get straight to the LOL channel. Go there right now and subscribe or hit the bell button so you're notified at leadingoutloud.com. Leadingoutloud.com takes you straight to the portal. It's a great time. We're having a real enjoying ourselves. And then next, it's important to talk about, we have, of course, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Heather Exposito and Serious Joy's daily downloads. This is a really great little thing. It's a way to start to learn the step system in a simple way. And for those of you who think this is overwhelming, that is, it's just so much information, step astrology, etc., this is what we've created. We call it Joy Garden, which is the entry level of Serious Joy, where we teach you the basics. Heather is on the homepage at seriousjoy.com 7 days a week. She's a trooper. She's really doing it. And they're great as well. Also, we have our Town Hall TV shows. And this Wednesday, we have Keeping It Surreal with Kristen Ryder. She's brought 3 people on camera. They're going to talk about how they faced an obstacle of a lifetime, but they rose like a phoenix. This is our talk show where we get deep on the topics. And because we're behind a firewall, because we are a private community, there's another word we were supposed to put in there, but I can't remember. Sorry, marketing. Because we're private, we can talk about things that we don't necessarily talk about on this channel. That's because there are words that are AI audited and things happen. So if you want to hear the truth, if you want to talk about real gain in life, come on down, check out Kristen Ryder. Subscribers, it is at that same time as LOL, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. This will be Wednesday at seriousjoy.com for Serious Joy subscribers. And then I have to tell you, the mega monthlies will finally be out in the next 24 hours. Everything I told you about how life was crazy, they're just going live tomorrow on September 7th. I guess that's the way it's supposed to be, but we've changed the format of them. We used to do the whole month where we just do like all of September, but I found that it was too much information. So I changed them now to where there's just Virgo, just Libra, and getting deeper on what Virgo and Libra means for you. This is one of the many things that you get as a subscriber to seriousjoy.com, which is this monthly. They're now called the Zodiac, the Mega Zodiac monthlies, just to rename them. So they're after the Zodiac, and they will be live sometime in the middle of the night because I'm still putting finishing touches after this show. I know, isn't that crazy? That's how hard I work. And as always, sharing is caring. The best thing you can do for us, if you're not going to dip in your pocket and contribute literally, is to please share our content with people that you love. Don't forget, we have every Tuesday, all of our horoscopes cut out, neat and even on YouTube. That's a great way to share their horoscope, let them know what's going on in their life, and please care. We're doing so much work here at Serious Joy. We need your help. We're not going to be able to spread without our subscribers and our viewers taking a step in and helping us just a little bit. And we have our Facebook group, seriousjoy.club. This is where you can rub elbows and hang out. It's the only place that I put personal pictures up. You won't find anything in my life on my profiles or my Twitter or anything. So yes, I'm deliberately exploiting myself in bathing suits. No, I'm just kidding. There's no bathing suits, or is there? On Facebook. And we also share lots of our personal spiritual stories as well. That's at seriousjoy.club. If you want to follow me on any of the places that we happen to be across the web, that is our link tree, seriousjoy.social. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, you can find us on different podcast platforms such as Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. All right, friends, I'd like to thank everyone today that works on our show, especially our producer, Diane DeStefano, our graphics, casting, and chat moderation, Nina Kay. You probably caught her in the chat tonight. We also have our Galactic Grandmaster Director, Adam Turner, our teaching staff, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Dewar, Joe Zammett, Gwen English, Daikyo Komodo, and Heather Exposito. You guys say that 5 times. And our super chat friends, we're so happy that you come in and you hang out with us. We want to name them by name. Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, Sydney, I saw you. Iggy, I saw you. Didn't see Neetu, Kat Ryder, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, Erica, Eric's Experimental Elemental, Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Lieber Lauren, Princess Coffee Bean, Jill Louise, and Margot Malia. And we will be resetting that list here when we go into the fall season, just so we have it kind of fair. All right, friends, That's all I have for tonight. Thanks for bearing with us in our roles and turns and twists. I'll be back, well, I think next Friday, if everything goes well. Until then, please remember, I love you. Live, love, be.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.